Hey everyone, welcome back to the 22nd episode of The Cool Water Show, where we talk about everything happening in the Real Housewives universe. Over here on Silent Podcast, where we are anything but silent. My name is Kari, and I'm joined by my co-host Katie. Katie, it is a Monday night. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm kind of shocked that we've done 22 episodes of this. It feels like the time is flying,
Mm-hmm.
which is really exciting. I also have my hair. So you may have seen, I know, Carrie, you follow me on Instagram now and also on Twitter, but I've been trying to perfect this low bun so I don't have to do my hair every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I look like a founding father every single time I do it. And today I feel like I kind of got it, but it was like a whole saga on social media. So if you follow me on Instagram, go vote in the poll on whether or not it's a sensible summer look or if it's founding father energy. That's what I really need to know.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I can't wait
Yeah.
to vote in this situation. I understand this entirely because I've also tweeted things like, how do I make myself look like I didn't sign the Declaration of
Yes.
Independence in
This is literally what
1776?
I wrote. I
Yeah,
said I posted a picture today and said, "Am I on my way to a Zoom call or to sign the Declaration of Independence?" Who knows? You never
yeah.
know.
I've literally tweeted like, how do you do this without looking like you didn't sign the Declaration of
Yes.
Independence? Because I can't. I don't know how. I'm not good. You are currently rocking, and if you aren't watching this on video, like you're a doofus, check out our shit on YouTube. Um, that like you have like the two kind of like strands going that kind of like help
Yeah.
the framing
That
of
was
it.
the advice that I got on Twitter is make sure you have strands hanging around your face and then you won't
Yeah.
look like a founding father. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I've been missing this essential piece obviously every other time."
I can't do those strands well. Like my hair doesn't like those. I don't like those strands. The hair doesn't like when they do happen. I really, really like hold on to that. I appreciate when
Yeah.
they work, but I'm just not good at like forcing them to happen. So
Mine are right by my ears because the little hairs by my ears are always shorter than the rest of my hair. It's just
mhm.
always. And then in the back of my hair too, it's like a mess back there, but we don't need to talk about that. But these are always short. So I always just boop, pull them down. Sometimes they just fall down anyway because they're not long enough to go back.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's always the stuff in the back for me that falls naturally, and
Yeah,
then
me too.
I have to use like bobby
Which
pins and
isn't,
stuff.
yeah, I have to use 50 bobby pins when I put my hair. It's like a nightmare. That's why I usually don't have my hair up.
That makes sense. I just kind of I'll wear like headbands, but the thing is, okay, so I like haven't graduated high school in my headband wear because I will still wear pre-wrap as a headband because I have a
Mm.
weird shaped head that headbands don't stay on. So the only
Oh,
things that stay are like they have to be like very thick. Like I just bought one from an Instagram ad because Instagram ads are
oh,
my
nice.
fucking weakness. And it covers like
Same.
my whole head, which is fine. But
Oh,
I
I like
feel like
that.
it's kind of ridiculous to like be out in public with. So I wear it around my apartment. But otherwise I'll like wear pre-wrap as a headband. And I don't care when people make comments because like if you had my shaped head, you would wear pre-wrap as a headband as well. Cause like I need it to stay. Nothing else stays. So I don't know. Like if I ever to shave my head, people be like, "What fucking vagina did you come out of that shaped that this way?" Because like, why is it so weird? Um, so yeah, that's why I can never shave my head.
Oh.
Anyway, so wow, we're really
You gotta
covering
tell
these shows
Karen. You gotta
today.
ask Karen what happened there.
Listen, my mom doesn't even know my real fucking birthday. I can't ask her what caused my head to be shaped this way. Yesterday was one of my two birthdays, and not a single soul wished me a happy birth certificate birthday and not vaginal birthday, which is on the 22nd. So
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
I haven't told you this?
No.
Oh God. All right. So um back when I was like 21, applied for Teach for America, and my parents were like mad because I got skipped over for like an initial interview and sent straight to a final interview. And so I was like, oh, how do I like not get this? I'm an education major, like whatever. And so I needed my birth certificate to prove that I'm a resident of the United States. And I asked my mom for it. And I'm like, hey, mom, why does my birth certificate say that I was born on June 12th? And she's like, what? Now, my mom is pissed at me, mind you. Like, that I might be moving halfway across the country, which like
Yeah.
spoiler alert, I did anyway. But um she's she's like, "What?" I'm like, "My birth certificate says June 12th. Like I thought my birthday's June 22nd." And she's like, "I don't know. Go ask the hospital if you don't believe me." I'm like, "What do you mean go ask the hospital?" Like the document that legally proves my date of birth says different. Because in Connecticut, they give you these like little yellow birth certificate cards that are
Mhm.
like valid for things like getting your driver's license, signing up
Yeah.
for shit, whatever. Like it's
So you
like
don't have to, like,
legal
bring the
within.
actual birth certificate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always use that. But then my mom hands me my birth certificate for the first time I'm seeing it in my entire life, and it says June 12th. So when my
Oh
dad
my
gets
god.
home, I'm like, "Dad, what day was I born?" And he's also mad at me too. He hasn't spoken to me in like a month.
Mhm.
And he's like, June 22nd. Why? And I'm like, well, because my birth certificate says June 12th. He's like, I don't know then. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm the firstborn. I can understand by the third one that y'all fucked this up, but the first one you're supposed to care.
Wait, so
So
do you not know what your actual birthday is?
supposedly June 22nd, but my birth certificate said June 12th.
Carrie, this is a wild fact.
Yeah. And so if you ask,
So do you celebrate both?
I'm not a big, like, birthday person anyway,
Mm,
so, like, the
fair.
decade I worked at camp, if people wanted to do things for my birthday, I usually was at camp by my birthday, so I'd be like, "Oh, let's go
Mhm.
on June 12th or whatever," but not a huge birthday person. It's more just, like, funny for the story than anything,
Yeah.
and where it is really perplexing to people is those who are big into astrology. Um,
Yeah.
our mutual friend, Jenny Autumn, she,
Mhm.
like, the
Shout out to Jenny
whole
Autumn.
moon rising, sun setting, I
Yeah.
don't know, all that shit, like, I don't care about this stuff.
Yeah.
She, like, did my, like, reading thing or whatever, sent me this, like, whole ass page about that's supposed to tell me about me, and I'm like, "Jenny, there's, like, 5 words that are relevant to me, like, the rest, like, not at all." So then she's like, "Fuck it, I'm doing your June 12th birthday, you're more of a Gemini than a Cancer
Oh my
anyway."
god.
So she did it, and she sends it to me, I'm like, "Alright, this is a lot more accurate than
Oh
the
my god,
June
so maybe your
22nd
birthday really
one."
is June 12th.
Maybe my birthday was yesterday. Who knows?
Oh my god, well, happy belated birthday. Happy
Thank
belated
you.
birth certificate birthday.
Yeah, vaginal birthday is next week, birth certificate birthday was yesterday. So, here we are.
Wow. This is a wild story.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
like
were a Real Housewife, you could use this as an opportunity to have 2 parties.
it is. But I would have to host too, and I don't know if I would wanna do that.
True.
Um,
That's true. And you could use it as a storyline to get mad at people who don't wish you a happy birth certificate birthday and vaginal birthday.
yeah, I could. Luckily, I'm not a housewife because
Yeah. Luckily for all of
that's
us,
a mess for
honestly.
everyone. Yeah,
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So,
People might think they want that, but nobody wants that.
no, I'll just continue to talk about the Real Housewives. I don't need to be one.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's
Exactly.
my my double birthday story, and
Wow.
yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Like
Yes.
firstborn child, and on top of it,
Wow.
I I went to get my birth certificate changed, or like not changed, but like one that says my date of birth, and I got charged $20 for it, and I was like, I was a goddamn infant when this mistake was made, and
Yeah, how is this your fault?
my parents didn't give me the money for it, so I had to pay for everybody else fucking up my birthday. And people wonder,
Oh
like,
my
oh, why
god.
aren't you a birthday person? Maybe that's why I was never a birthday
Maybe.
person. I just knew that no one respected enough to even have it right on my legal document proving my date of birth.
Yeah. Wow. This is wild. Really wild.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even make this shit up. Like this is true. So here we are.
Here we are.
I'm either 34 or 33 right now. Who knows?
You're like
Um
in the in between.
yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I was out this weekend and I was just like thinking about how old I was for some reason and I could not remember. This was like the first time in my life that I'm like, I can't remember how old I am.
Oh, that's funny.
So it took me, I was making myself a year older in my head for like quite a long time, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know someone who I won't expose who because we're not friends anymore, but
Oh.
I know someone who has lied to their group of friends since they were in, I think, like 3rd grade, because they switched schools, and I think, like, was moved up a grade. So everybody
Hmm.
thinks this person is a year older than they really are. And this person is
Wow.
closing in on their 40th birthday in the near future and is considering then, because like really when they have a 40th birthday, it actually only be their
They'll be
39th
39.
birthday. So like everyone in this person's social circle thinks that they're a year older than they actually are, Like, why
So
would
they're
you
gonna
put me
reveal
last?
this?
I don't know. Maybe. I won't be able to find out because I don't talk to this person
Ugh,
anymore. Um, However, like, when I was told this, I was like, "That's kinda like psychotic behavior."
kind of low key, high key, psychotic behavior.
I can understand in, like, elementary school being like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'm your age," but then at, like
Yeah, but, like, to carry it through your whole adult life?
and then how does it carry like, "Oh, let me see your license." Like, "Oh, I don't have it yet because like, you're still a year away from get" I don't know. Or, like, "We're going to the bar." And, like, "Do you have a fake?" I have a lot of questions.
Right.
But anyway, we
Yeah, it's
are
very interesting.
we're 10 minutes into this and have
We
talked
are.
barely any housewives, which is
It's
probably for
true.
the best, to be honest, but, at least with Beverly Hills.
Oh god.
So yeah, I guess we could talk about the podcast topic, and,
Yeah.
if you want to hear more about Katie and I talking, just let us know. We'll make a podcast
Yeah, we'll happily
about
just
this
hop
topic.
on and just chat with each other.
There are podcasts like that. There's one that I
Yes.
just heard of that's called, like, Normal Gossip, and, like, people, like, send in their, like,
Oh.
drama stories, and then, like, the 2 people talk about it, so, I don't know.
Oh,
I
that
have
sounds
to
like fun.
Yeah, a couple of my friends really like it. I have to check it out whenever I finally decide to listen to a podcast again. So, it's fine. Alright, anyway, we're gonna talk about a couple of episodes of not Beverly Hills, of Real Housewives here. First, we're gonna talk about Beverly Hills, and alright, before we get into this episode, now that you've watched it,
Mhm.
like, where are you at with this season? How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling like a 4 out of 10 with this season so far. But I think it's just because I really don't like this cast outside of Garcelle and Sutton. And I'm back and forth with Crystal. I want to like
Mm,
Crystal. I think this episode was a little tough for me with Crystal. I think the last episode was a little tough for me with Crystal. So we'll see where we go with her from here. I also saw her on Watch What Happens Live this week, and that was a little tough for me with Crystal. So I'm the jury's out on Crystal and me, but we need a shakeup of this like Dorit, Erica, Kyle, Lisa Rinna gang because like I'm over them. I'm over it.
mhm.
They exhaust me. It's so transparent what they do, and it's just like the same thing every single season, just with like a different, like stupid little thing that they're like pretending is a storyline. And I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it.
I really enjoyed Kyle on Our Hooked, and,
Yeah.
that was, like, the best I had seen her in a long time, and so
Yeah. That
it's
was the best I had seen
frustrating.
her ever, I think, because I'm not a
Yeah,
Kyle fan.
yeah, and it just shows that, like, when she isn't in this position of she almost, like, knows everyone too well, I feel like, in this
Yeah.
Beverly Hills cast, that she knows how to quickly stir shit up and, like, push buttons, and one of my least favorite things that has been happening in a lot of these franchises is like a piece of drama expanding for like far too long. Like these things, the
Yeah.
storylines need to have expiration dates, and I think that they need to be
Yes.
like a month earlier than Bravo thinks they need to be.
Well, it's notor the 2 and I think it has to do with the production company because they're both the same production company, but Beverly Hills and Orange County are the 2
Mhm.
that just drag these things on forever, especially recent seasons of Orange County. It wasn't always really like that, but I think it's because they have the same production company. I don't know what it is, but it's just so tired. Like I feel like we're still talking about things from last season, this
Mhm.
season, and I'm just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Whereas like in Atlanta or New York or Potomac or wherever, we're moving along here. We're moving along. We're having a million different storylines happening at one time. It's fresh. It's continuously moving. Like that's not what we get from these West Coast women.
I don't know if you saw this. This is not Beverly Hills related, but
Yeah.
I don't know how true this is. I read somewhere that Potomac filming got extended by like 2 weeks because of how much drama was going on.
Oh my God.
I
Well,
don't
if
know if
that's
it's
true,
true.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I
I
still
saw a picture that I think was it Wendy posted of Mia, Wendy, Ashley, and Candace all posing together as if they were like besties, which is shocking because obviously none of those people were friends last year. So
yeah,
I'm like, do we have an alliance among these women?
maybe.
Which I'm here for it. I'm ready to see it.
Mhm.
But I would love
Yeah.
that. The Potomac ladies always deliver for us, even if it's like kind of a boring season. They're just so funny.
Yeah, I've never really felt like there was a boring season, but I'm also
Yeah.
easily humored by humor that you can like
Same.
you can mask a boring season behind their sense of like their
Yes.
personalities and I'm still going to enjoy it. I think that's why like I know you've said that there was some seasons of Atlanta that you found like a little less interesting than others, but
Mhm.
like I can just sit there for like the banter and the
Oh, yeah.
shadiness like all day.
Yeah.
So,
Same. Even this season, I feel like we'll get to it, I guess, when we get to Atlanta, but I feel like that's kind of where we're at now, where like the drama isn't like it's not giving that much yet, but the
mhm.
episodes are still great because the women have just good banter and good
Yeah.
rapport with each other. So they're
Yeah,
fun to watch.
absolutely. Well, we start this episode with Garcelle and her sister, and they are at a house that Garcelle is going to turn into her beach house because she wants to leave it for her kids. They talk about how their parents have instilled this work ethic in them, and that's why they are the way they are. They're like, I think there are 6 of them total, 4 daughters, 2 sons, is what
Mm.
they said, and just gives us a little insight on Garcelle and her family.
I love that Garcelle is getting such an edit this season. Like, I feel like she's so in the middle and in the mix of everything that she's really becoming kind of like the star of the show. And I'm so happy that we're just moving away from like these same women being in the spotlight all the time. And
Mhm.
like, give it to Garcelle. She deserves it. She's working her ass off this season, giving us storylines and stirring the pot. And I'm excited that she's getting some recognition. Also, loved her shirt in this moment. It was like a color blocked. I don't know. I loved it. And
Yeah.
I was like, is Garcelle going to influence me the same way that Melissa Beck has influenced me? Maybe, but I can definitely not afford the shit that Garcelle is buying. That much I know.
Um, 16 minutes and 38 seconds into the podcast for our first Melissa reference. So, Melissa, if you're listening
Mhm.
to this too, sup, pal? Um, then we cut over to Dorit at lunch where Erica joins her. Dorit talks about her EMDR therapy, says it's draining, but like also says it's a good thing. And they talk about Lisa's mom being put into hospice and the upcoming trip to Mexico where Diana's going to put them on a PJ, which I hate that. I not that they're getting a private jet. I just hate when they call it a PJ. I don't know
Me
why that
too.
bothers
It's
me so much.
extremely obnoxious. And I feel like I know I did an impression of her last time, but I feel like Erica Jane is like such a caricature of herself now, where she's like, and we're getting a PJ, and I can't afford a PJ anymore. And I'm like, okay, we got like, it's just like she doesn't sound like a real person anymore. I don't know if you feel
Mhm.
the same way, but like when she speaks, it's like Dorit was talking about Erica's mom. I'm sorry, Lisa Rinna's mom being in hospice, and she was like, "It's terrible. This support. It's a nightmare. It's terrible." And I'm like, "Why are you talking like this? She sounds so
Mhm.
weird." I don't know. I just can't.
Maybe
Everything
she's
she says
taken
gets
up
under my
like
skin.
chain smoking or something in
Maybe.
the wake of all of this. I don't know. I don't know if she sounds like different to me. It's more so I liked Erica before all this. It's just like hard to like her now. So I just
Yeah.
like pay her much mind because her main things right now, like her storyline is she's in the middle of a lawsuit that she can't really talk about. And when she does, she definitely fumbles it there. And then that she like hates Sutton. Otherwise,
Yeah.
what's Erica really doing?
Not
So
much. I mean, which is fine with me because I'm not a fan. But what I find, and I want to, what's your opinion on how much she talks about how she used to have money and now she doesn't have money? Because this to me, I'm like, ma'am, do you not realize that people are watching this show who are going to be judging you like in the courtroom? Like maybe not a jury. I don't think there's going to a jury trial or anything, but the lawyers, like all you're doing is complaining about how you used to be able to afford Cartier and now you can't, and how you used to have a private jet, now you can't, like now you don't. It's like this isn't like the best look, but you sit there and you say you have remorse or you feel pity for these victims, and then in the next breath you say that they don't even exist. But it's like what are we doing here? You can show remorse and feel pity or sympathy for people without saying the words I feel sympathy for them, and it's in your actions. And she's just over the top with just complaining about how she doesn't have money anymore.
to me, it's like I don't even know if I consider it that much because I just can't get beyond the fact of her or like Jen Shaw or other people who are in the middle of criminal affairs, whether or not they are guilty or innocent, are allowing cameras to follow them around and then put their
I
shit on
know.
television. Like to me, it's kind of like nothing. I can't take anything they say at face value because you have to be cognizant of everything you're doing. It's not natural, which is unfortunate for a show like this because we want to believe that these interactions
Right.
are organic and all of this, but like I almost just Erica to me is just there because I can't get beyond the stupidity of like I'm in the middle of this massive lawsuit, so put me on
Mhm.
camera all the time. Like no, I just it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. For some reason, I find her so much more offensive than Jen Shah, and I cannot put my finger on why. I guess maybe because this is like literally they're stealing money from dead people's families, where Jen Shah is just stealing money from the elderly. Like, I don't know. Obviously, both are horrible. I just can't put my finger on why I am so much more anti Erica than I am Jen. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm anti Jen too, but she doesn't get under my skin like Erica does.
Yeah, I don't know what the
I don't
difference would
know.
be
I can't
there.
figure it out. I can't figure it out.
Maybe it's like who Erica surrounds herself with that like makes it worse versus,
Maybe.
like Jen Shaw is probably the worst person Jen Shaw surrounds herself with. Not that Erica
Yeah.
isn't the worst person she surrounds, but like there's a big gap, I think, in who we enjoy that Jen
Yeah.
Shaw is surrounded by versus who Erica is surrounded by.
I just maybe it's just the fact that like Jen Shah seems slightly more likable in general to me. Like Erica takes herself very seriously and I don't feel like she has any sense of humor about herself. And I do feel like Jen is a little bit more likable and has a better sense of humor.
Mhm.
So, not that that makes her a better person by any means. They're both bad people, obviously, allegedly. But I don't know. It's weird to me how I think about Jen Shah. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'll miss Jen Shah on the show if she goes to jail for 75 years. And then for Erica, I'm like, get off the show, go to jail. I can't stand you. Get out of my face. I don't know. I don't know. It's my own thing to unpack.
You're allowed to have your opinions. That's
I
why we have a
guess
podcast is to talk
it's
about these.
true.
Like people don't have
That's
to agree
true.
with them. It's fine. There's someone out there
That's
who
true.
will. There's a whole Reddit sub thread that
True.
or like a subreddit that will, which by the way, okay, I keep forgetting to say this to you and I don't care that we're in the middle of a podcast. I'm going to say it anyway. At least on one of the housewives subreddits that we're on Fridays, you are allowed to like self promote. So
Yes.
please, one of us has to post our podcast on Friday. I have
Okay.
forgotten the last 2 Fridays. This past
I'll put
Friday,
a
it was like
reminder on my phone.
justified in the fact that I was like wherever, but I hadn't told you out loud. I've been meaning to tell you and I
Okay,
haven't.
let's do it.
So there
Yeah.
we go. Because I do think that Reddit will help us get some more listeners because they
Yeah.
took my post down last time, you motherfuckers.
Because it wasn't on a Friday?
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a
Hmm.
Friday rule until, like, I was on there on a Friday, and it was, like, one of the posts. I'm like, "Oh, that explains some things." So
Hmm.
but I think it's, like, somewhat newer because I had posted an episode a while ago that didn't get taken down. So, I don't know,
Oh,
but alright, I said that out loud to you. I kept
okay.
forgetting to
I'll
say
put a
that out
reminder
loud
on
to
my
you.
phone.
Cool, great. Thank you for that. I need I need some accountability in my life. Um, alright, so after this little lunch, we get Kyle having some sort of meal, whether it's lunch or dinner with Crystal, and
Mm.
my second note on this is I am not looking forward to this. Like, I as soon as I saw that was Crystal joining her, I'm like, "Ugh, fuck." Like,
Yeah.
there's not gonna be anything new said in this conversation. Absolutely
No.
none. We're just rehashing shit just on a one-on-one, which, like, I am a big proponent, we know this, of the one-on-ones.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
same.
think they do, like, help with conflict resolution or whatever, but I knew there wasn't gonna be anything coming out of this.
Yeah. I have a question for you, related but unrelated. When you watched this episode, did you have a big Jurassic Park logo on your screen? Because I know you buy the seasons, right? And then you
No,
watch them the
now
next
I'm
day.
watching them on Bravo apps because,
Oh, okay.
um, I just put up with the commercial. Now that I'm, like, taking notes on everything, it's almost nice to get those little commercial breaks. I'm, like,
Oh, yeah, because you can, like,
enjoying those
catch yourself.
versus,
Yeah.
like, the binge like, now that I don't feel as obligated to, like, get caught up in binging, like
Mhm.
because the next New Jersey season isn't gonna
It's like
happen
a year away,
for
yeah.
right, and so I'll definitely finish Miami before the next Miami season comes out that like, I don't have this time crunch anymore that I
Right.
used to feel under, so it's like, "Okay, I can save this $24 I'm spending on a season and, like, get a poke bowl with it instead or something," you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Love good poke bowl.
Yeah, who doesn't?
So I was watching it on the Bravo app, there might have been a logo. I know I've seen a logo in the top right-hand corner of my screen that was Jurassic
Yeah.
whatever, but I can't remember when I've seen it.
Okay, because I think it was on Atlanta last night, and it was on. I rewatched Beverly Hills today, and it was on there. I don't know if it was on there when on the original, but like it was so distracting that I just caught myself like mentally making jokes about like the dinosaurs chasing the housewives during these like scenes that I was not interested in, specifically for Beverly Hills. But it was huge. It was like I don't know. It was like a third of the screen on mine. It was
Oh,
comically large.
yeah, it definitely wasn't that big on whatever
Okay.
I saw. Um, but I definitely have seen one in the top right-hand corner of one of the shows I watched. I just can't remember which one. Might have been Atlanta. It might have been Atlanta last night.
Yeah, I think that's where I first noticed it, I think. I think it was smaller for the Atlanta one.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
Um, okay, so I have a ton of shit written about this. They first
Okay.
talk about Paris's wedding. So Paris Hilton got married, and Kyle was saying that was a lot of pressure for Kathy and Paris. It was like a 3-day
Yeah, their
wedding.
lives are so hard.
Yeah, I don't know. Anybody who says like money can't buy you happiness, like I just want to talk. So anyway,
Yeah, let's talk.
um after that we get Kyle with her like classic leading question like, "Well, how are you feeling?" Shut up, Kyle.
Yeah.
And Crystal said, "This topic is hard for me because I held it in and didn't want to talk about it." And Kyle said, "Well, you brought up something from a year ago, but you ended up throwing Sutton under the bus to Garcelle." And Crystal goes, "I'm not going to say what she said." Kyle says, "You created a dangerous situation." To which Crystal says, "Lesson learned." Then, ready for this one, Katie? Kyle goes,
Ready?
"I think you're gaslighting this situation."
Yep. I thought of you,
Good.
obviously, immediately. Um, but I hate to do this in Kyle's defense. Crystal kind of gaslit her a little bit in the last episode when Kyle was like, "I don't remember that," and she's like, "Well, you were drunk. You were drunk." Kind of like maybe gaslighting's not the right
That
word, but
okay.
she did kind of like toe the line of gaslighting a little bit with Kyle because Kyle was like, "I was there and I didn't hear it." She's like, "Well, you were drunk," like making her question her reality of like what was actually happening that night. So that I will say she did kind of gaslight that situation, but as a whole, I don't think that gaslighting is an appropriate term to use here.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wouldn't have thought of the component where Crystal is like dismissing Kyle not remembering. We find out later though that like Kyle wasn't even present for that conversation. So
Well,
if
Crystal was the one that was incorrect about the order of the sequence of events, apparently.
yeah, because it happened the next day.
Yeah, but she was saying it happened that night in the basement.
Right. So um I mean I guess like I don't know, whatever. In
Yeah.
conclusion, is she gaslighting the whole situation? No. But
No.
I do agree. I didn't think of it, but I do agree. So Kyle, you somewhat properly used the only thing the thing that gets me about gaslighting is like it's supposed to be an overtime process. And
Right, right.
so I just wish there was like a different word than that because like everyone just like jumps using gaslighting for like
Yeah, it
lying
really is like
now.
a buzzword. Like remember when
Yes.
bully was such like a or like
Or
mean girl?
or
Those are like
trigger. "Oh, is this a
yeah,
trigger for you?" I'm like, "Say it one more
yeah,
time. Like, just say
yeah.
it." You know what's a trigger for me? You saying
You
trigger.
saying
Like,
trigger. Yeah,
you
yeah,
overusing trigger. This is a trigger
yeah,
for me. No, it's not.
yeah.
Shut up.
Exactly. Right. Right. Oh my god. Yeah, I feel like gaslighting is like in that
Yeah,
realm now
absolutely.
of just like being a buzzword that no one like really knows what it means and people are abusing the term and it's frustrating because gaslighting is a real thing that happens to people and it's like a form of abuse. It's not
Yes.
just lying. It's not just a
It's
blanket lie.
it's not just manipulating, it's not just lying,
No.
it's, like, over an extended period of time. And,
Yes.
um, so
There are
I
terms
will
for those things. They're called lying and manipulating, not gaslighting.
I will agree that Crystal did, like, a little piece of mini gaslighting. If Crystal kept this up for a
Yeah.
while, then I would be like, "Yes, I agree with you, Kyle." However, it's come up like 3 times all on
Right.
camera when you forced
Right.
her to talk about it yet again. So, anyway, Um, Crystal said, like, I think you really have to be careful about that. And Kyle goes, are we really going to be dramatic about this? And Crystal said, I'm going to ask that you give me the benefit of the doubt. And Kyle says, well, I'm going to ask that you be more direct and less passive aggressive. To which Crystal says, will you be open to my feelings? And Kyle says, well, will you be open to other people's feelings as well? And that's kind of like where they left the conversation. I do have a question for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think that Crystal has been passive aggressive in this?
No, I don't think she's been passive aggressive at all. I think she's been pretty direct.
Yeah. I just think that the women aren't taking no as an answer. And
Right.
I mean, yes, I do think that Crystal has created a very weird situation to be like, Sutton said this
Yeah.
fucked up thing, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. But like, I'm the one that brought it up and now not going to mention it. Like, you can't do that.
No, you really can't do that. Like, that's just like a rule of life is that you can't just be like, well, I know something you don't know, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Because then that's all anybody's going to think about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you just can't do it. And that's why I unfortunately can't really be on Crystal's side here as
Mm-hmm.
much as I would like to be because I just don't feel like what she did was the right move. And I feel like she made a fatal mistake here because now she's giving all of these women something to harp on her about, which like isn't ideal. And I think it undermines her original point of feeling like they invalidated her feelings or didn't take her seriously. And now that's all they're doing is invalidating what she's saying and not taking her seriously because she's not giving anybody anything to back herself up. Even in this lunch, I feel like she was like, will you listen to my feelings? And Kyle was like, well, will you listen to other people? It's like she's not even saying like, yes, I will.
Mm-hmm.
They're all just like taking this as an opportunity to dismiss Crystal and her feelings.
I also do think they have a point in the fact that, like, okay, you've said now that you and Sutton have had this conversation and you smooth things over, but clearly, like, you haven't forgiven her enough to not bring it up in front of like 5 other women,
Right.
where like 4 of them are looking to have problems with either one or both of you.
Yeah.
So why did you bring it up then? You know, like, she's
Right.
not dumb. So doing that is like, it's just a weird move to me. Like, how you don't have many allies in this group. Like,
Right.
Sutton and Garcelle are basically it. And like, Diana's your friend, but Diana's new and she has money, but she doesn't have a lot of pull yet.
Right.
And I just don't get this. Like, what's the motive? What are you trying to obtain from this? Because even if you are creating a storyline, quite frankly, like, this isn't the best storyline for you because now you're gonna have no friends.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like even her friends that she had, to your point, it's like, okay, her and Sutton were in a good place and they were kind of like a mini alliance, and her and Garcelle were in a good place. And now even Garcelle is like kind of calling her out, being like, well, Garcelle did kind of sort of started a little bit, being like, well, I feel like you would have said that anyway, regardless of what she said.
But
Felt like a
Crystal could have
setup.
just
But
said no, and then there's the
yeah, like
conversation.
no.
Instead, she's like, well, actually, one time she said something worse, but I'm not gonna tell you
Yeah,
what it is. It
really
was very
dark, but
dark.
I will
Yeah.
never repeat it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
I'm just, you know, I know that Kyle then says, like, are you gonna do the surf lessons? And Crystal says, only if you do, and she's afraid of sharks. But like, Kyle is the shark. Kyle needs to be afraid of herself.
Yeah. This lunch was so like it felt so contentious from the second they sat down. It was like, are you going to do this? Well, are you going to do this? Well, are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? It was just like, oh my God, are you going to go surfing? Are you? I'll go surfing if you go surfing. Well, I'll go surfing if you. And I was like, oh my God, can we just like please be done with this? It's like, I mean, who cares?
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I mean, I did predict something from the beginning because my literal second note, besides Crystal joins her for lunches, I am not looking forward to this. So like,
Yeah,
this
you're right.
this conversation was everything I thought it would be in terms of like, cool. Couldn't
Yeah,
we have like seen Bambi instead? Shit.
right.
All
Give
right.
us more Bambi.
Yeah, please. The next thing we get is Diana visiting Kyle. And okay, so I lied before. They were talking, Crystal and Kyle were talking about Paris's wedding coming up. And then Diana and Kyle
Yes.
talked about the first day of
Yes.
Paris's wedding. And where Kyle was like, it was a small wedding. It was only 200 people.
I know. I was like, what? I can't stand rich people. I would like to be a rich person, but I can't stand rich people.
Yeah.
I would
Like,
like to have money. I don't want to be a rich person in like the way that they're rich people. I just want to
mhm.
have like enough money where I never have to worry about anything. But like, I hate rich people.
200
So
is
out of touch with
small.
reality.
Yeah.
Like out of touch with reality.
Could you imagine like the dollar sign on a 200-person wedding?
For the Hiltons, no. For
Not
a
well, I'm
normal
not like for a
person,
normal
no.
person, that's
For a
still
normal
gonna
person,
be
no.
like easily a 30 grand wedding. Easily.
If you're in New York, it's going to be more than that.
Yeah. I believe that. Ugh.
Yeah.
My okay, so I was with my little sister this weekend. Katie knows this, and I might have said it on one of these podcasts. And she was like, "So you're getting married anytime soon?" I'm like, "Are you gonna pay for it? Because fuck that shit."
Yeah.
Like, dude, weddings are expensive.
Yeah.
200 people? Ugh. Oh my god. And just the way she does. Anyway, I could like go off about how dumb I think weddings are for a
Yeah.
whole nother podcast. Maybe we should just
Yeah.
make a podcast of like things that we think are dumb. And then there's a different
I'm
topic each
in.
week.
Wait, I'm in on this. Let's talk.
Yeah. Oh god. Wait, we're people are gonna get so sick of us.
Yeah.
We do find out that Farrah got engaged. And so I have a question because to
Mhm.
me, I interpreted this as he proposed the day of Paris's wedding, but they didn't like tell people. Like they weren't like making announcements about it, but like her ring was noticeable or whatever. Did you understand it that way? Or
That is kind of how I understood it, or like the day before, maybe. And then
yeah.
like she didn't want to announce it, which is very Vanderpump Rules. This was literally a storyline on Vanderpump Rules last season of Sheena and her weirdo engaged. What are they called? Fiance?
Mhm.
That's how far away I am from thinking about anything marriage. Is proposed to her like the day before, and then they announced it like at James and Raquel's engagement party. It was like a whole thing. That was like literally a story lifted from Vanderpump Rules last season.
Oh. I have to go back and watch that. I think I'm only a
Do you?
season behind. Did it lose its like its charm with losing half the racist staff?
No, because I hate the racist stuff. So,
Mm.
I mean, it was, I kept up with it this season where the last few I stopped watching halfway through. And this one I finished throughout because Sheena's fiance is a disaster person. And I just couldn't take my eyes off of him the whole time.
Okay, good to know.
So
Yeah,
it's worth watching.
all right. It'll probably get put on hold till like after New
Yeah,
Jersey,
I
but I
wouldn't
will watch
rush.
it. All right.
They're going to give us some storylines next season, though. Katie and Tom are getting divorced. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Raquel and James broke up. I mean, like, I'm going to be watching.
Oh, and is what's her face still on it? So like Lala.
Oh, yeah. Lala and Randall broke up, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I do need to catch up for next
Yeah,
season,
I
so I can
guess they're
watch
gonna
next season
come
live.
back with a vengeance.
All right. Noted. After the conversations about weddings, we talk about, well, Kyle's like, maybe I'll be a grandmother soon. And Diana's like, well, I'm a new mother. And then she talks about her miscarriage. She said she almost bled to death. And despite this, she still wants to try one more time. So, as like out of touch with reality as Diana is, I did appreciate her talking about this on television
Mhm.
because especially like in the climate right now where there are states that want to charge women
Yep.
with
With murder.
criminal charges for
Yeah.
having a miscarriage, which is something you cannot control, that um it's one of probably the few things that people will be able to connect with her about. Viewers will be able to connect with her.
Yeah, and it just kind of goes to show that abortions and, you know, OBGYN care is healthcare, and these are really serious issues that affect literally anybody from any socioeconomic status.
Mhm.
So, what are we doing here in this country?
You know, I was talking to my roommate about this. Again, like not to get too far off topic, but this we've been really good at this podcast, so let's keep it moving. That so there's like this whole golf drama going on that there's like a new professional league being created in Saudi Arabia, and
Oh, okay, I heard about this.
yeah, and so like PGA golfers who went to Saudi
Mhm.
Arabia to play are like getting suspended from the PGA because they played there because it's like, oh, you're supporting this country with like these awful morals or whatever.
Mhm.
I told Brett, I'm like, oh, well, we kind of have something similar going on with Real Housewives.
Yes.
And I did connect it. And he's like, to be fair, like, America's not the greatest country either, though. Like, we've got some fucked up shit going on.
No, for sure, for
I'm like,
sure.
you're right. We're not like killing gay people or anything like they
No, I
do
mean,
in
not
Dubai,
yet.
though. Yeah, right. So, um, but I just thought it was funny because I thought of like our conversation and kind of how like it relates to the PGA and stuff and um what we were just talking about in terms of like, yeah,
Yeah,
so even rich people have to have miscarriage or not have to have miscarriages, which
yeah,
can result in like needing to have an abortion to be able to keep the mother safe because
yep,
that's how this shit goes. But yeah, just keep
yeah.
restricting us from having this. It, like, really just seems like men want to kill off women. But whatever.
Yep, I would say so. Mhm. Or just, like, keep us in their basements as a means of carrying children with
Ugh.
no actual worth.
I like don't have a torso. There cannot be a child inside of me. I go from like I would be the worst one to have in someone's basement. I go from like hips to boobs really fucking fast. So, um, anyway, that's that. So, let's go on to Garcelle and Sutton. We have
Yeah.
them. Where were they? Were they eating dinner? I didn't write it down.
They were eating dinner, um, and they went to, like, a omakase place
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I
or
remember thinking
something.
like, oh, when I go to Nobu, should I get omakase for my
Yeah,
choice in
probably. I mean,
food?
it's gonna be $7,000 probably, but you
I mean,
should.
I have I okay, so a friend told me that I work with, she's like, "If you go and tell them, like, the maximum amount of money you wanna spend, they'll, like, work with you in creating, uh, like, in doing that for you, so you should tell them." So, that might be
Hmm.
what I do, and, quite frankly, it's my birthday, and I'm not a big birthday person, but, if I do have a $150 gift card, so
Yes.
that can start me off, and then if I wanna spend, I don't know, $6,850 after that, fucking let me. So
Yeah, as you should. As you should.
you only
And
turn
when you
34
go
twice if you're
twice in
me.
your case, yeah. Mhm. When you go, you should definitely order a cocktail and then take the ice out with chopsticks,
Oh
but
my
get a mess
god.
all over the table, and also pour water into your cocktail.
Lavelle would literally, like, I think he would get up and leave the table. I'm
Yeah,
actually serious.
Garcelle should have gotten up and left the table. What the fuck was Sutton doing here?
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you just order it with no ice or, like, ice on the side? You already have all these particular
Yeah,
demands.
what are
Just
you
ask for
doing?
ice on
Yeah.
the side. What is this, a fucking construction site at the table? Like, what are you doing? What's going on?
Mess everywhere. Mess everywhere.
I forgot that happened. I'm glad you brought that up.
It's honestly the only thing I remember from this dinner is just watching in just complete disgust at Sutton deconstructing her cocktail. That was probably very expensive.
Oh, absolutely. So Garcelle starts it off after, Sutton finishes playing with her food, saying that, like, the other night was strange. And Sutton goes, Crystal and I had talked about this over the summer. Basically, here's the conversation that I think she's referencing. I told her how I saw my white daughter in a jacuzzi with, like, with a black girl, and there was, like, a Chinese girl there as well. And that's the way it should be. And Crystal said that it needs to go beyond that now. And
Yeah, I kind of laugh just because it is like truly a ridiculous thing to say. Like, I get her sentiment, but it
yeah.
just sounds so crazy. It sounds crazy.
And Garcelle was like, "So what's the problem with that? Like, what else did you say?" Garcelle's, like, waiting for the punchline, and she's like, "No, that's
Right.
it. That's
Yeah.
all."
Yeah,
So
it's like a clumsy sentence,
mhm.
but I wouldn't say it's problematic.
No, there's definitely better ways of phrasing, like, "Yes, my daughter is in a friend group that
Yeah, a
is
diverse friend
diverse."
group, and that's the way it
Yeah.
should be.
So
That's yeah. What's wrong with that?
right, like, there wasn't anything negative said in the way that it was, and I'm glad we're also, like,
Mm-mm.
seeing the film of it, um,
Right. Yeah, because
versus
we
just
basically got it like word for word.
yeah. So I'm happy that that's happening and it wasn't like something off scenes behind camera that, or like whatever, that we aren't
Mhm.
going to have proof of, because then it lets us as the viewers also have our opinion on it. And I guess like it kind of rings true with what Crystal is saying. You can't tell her how to feel. If she did feel awkward in that, given
Sure.
she did had that like not great conversation with Sutton the night before about I don't see color or whatever. So I
And in
completely
that conversation, I feel like there was still a lot of tension and it wasn't
right.
resolved. So it makes sense. You're right.
Right, like, carrying it over, like, "Oh, yeah, well, there's, like, a Chinese girl there, and there's a black girl there," and it's like, "Okay, so, like, why are you phrasing it this way? Like, why," like, I'm
Right.
sure she's coming at it from the perspective, like, I just had this intense conversation with her about not seeing color, and now she's, like, trying to see color by saying, like, "Well, my daughter has a black friend." And
Yeah, 1,000%.
so
1,000%.
it's one of those things that, like, am I surprised that Sutton said something this way? No. Do I think Sutton meant anything negative by it? No. Do I also understand why Crystal, especially with the conversation she had the night prior, took it in a negative way and interpreted it differently than maybe Kyle would have or someone
Yeah.
else would have? Like, I get that as well. So, like, I kind of see the
Yeah.
different dynamics at play here. But the fact that we're gonna keep beating this dead horse as a storyline on television, like, I appreciate the sentiment of talking about the racial dynamics within this
Yeah.
group and everything, but, like, this isn't the way to do it. And if Bravo is gonna
Yeah.
continue that, like, don't force us to talk about racism here, but at the same time, like, if you're gonna do it better.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the thing, and that's been the issue basically every season so far is that Garcelle first and then Crystal second had to kind of like tackle the issue of racism in the Real Housewives because these are the first two women of color. Garcelle's the first Black housewife in Beverly Hills, and Garcelle is the first Asian housewife in Beverly Hills. And it's like, what? Why is it up to them to educate these women? Which is just like a sentiment across the board in the world, right? And
Right.
do I think that multiple things are true here? Yes. Do I think Sutton said probably a very ignorant statement? Yes. Do I think she meant anything by it? No. Do I think it was probably a learning moment that had to happen for her? Yes. But it sounds like she and Crystal worked it out after the fact. So I don't think Crystal's wrong in any feeling that she had from that conversation. I don't think it's up to me or you or any of the women on the show, any of the white women on the show, especially, to tell her that like her feelings were wrong in that moment, which is kind
Mhm.
of like how this whole thing started, right? Is that everybody
Right.
was telling Crystal that everything that she felt was wrong. Um, but I think if Sutton recognized it and is trying to learn and trying to grow, and if you're not going to say what she said that was so bad, and you're really implying something a little heavier than what seems like happened in that
Mhm.
conversation, then I don't think that's right either. Like I think everybody is wrong in this scenario.
Mhm.
I think Sutton probably like I think she made a mistake. I think she misspoke and I think she made a mistake.
Yeah, and it's something that I wish someone would chime up or chime in and be like, "Hey, don't forget," but no one's on Crystal's side, which, like, is why it's not gonna
Yeah.
happen, like, don't forget that less than 24 hours earlier, she had this intense, in-depth conversation about not seeing color, which in this day and age, if you are taking the "I don't see color"
Yeah.
route, that is a problem. So, like, I can understand then taking the sentiment of what was said in a different way than maybe what everyone else is taking this as a year later
Right.
removed from that conversation. Like, no
Yeah,
one's
like of
kind of like,
course she's going to feel a way about it. Of course
yeah,
she's going to feel a way about it the next day.
but if Crystal doesn't vocalize that, then no one will.
Exactly. And I think it's just it does suck because again, like I like Crystal and I'm in and out. I'm in and out on Crystal. I just hate that these women feel the need to just gang up on
Mhm.
her. Even Erica Jane almost had Sutton's back. I mean, I know we're jumping way far ahead here,
Mhm.
but like almost had Sutton's back in this conversation because they're like, you're implying something really heavy, which she, at the same time, she was implying something a little heavy.
Mhm.
And especially for Garcelle to have to be like, you need to tell me what this is because I need to know if I need to reevaluate my friendship with this person. And Crystal wouldn't tell her. It's like, tell her off camera at least, you know?
Yeah.
Like if it's something that heavy, then then Garcelle should know.
Yeah, I agree because even like Crystal implies this later. She's like, so did you not see something problematic with it? Like assuming that the other woman of color in the group might interpret it in a similar way that she did.
Yeah.
But obviously, like a year later, the nuances, the conversation Crystal had that Garcelle didn't have, like
Yeah. I think the
Garcelle's
context was missing
yeah.
for Garcelle.
I mean, even Garcelle's friendship with Sutton, like, I think Garcelle trusts her enough to sniff out if
Mhm.
like her closest friend in this group is actually a racist behind closed doors, and so it probably
Yeah.
even makes it like harder for Garcelle to be on Crystal's side with this because it's
Yeah.
like, well, I don't want, I'm not dumb, like I would probably
Yeah.
perceive, and so I think there's a lot riding on all this, and again, it like you said, it comes back to the original situation of like let Crystal have her feelings about whatever. Validate those feelings, but it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean we have to like tear anybody down in the
Right.
process. And that goes for Crystal as well, because like in the method that she chose to do this, she is whether or not deliberately attempting to tear Sutton down in the process, and
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
whole mess,
Yeah.
an
It's
unnecessary
yeah,
mess.
totally unnecessary.
Well, to end the conversation, Garcelle says like, if this is the worst that was said, then like you need to watch your back because your new friend isn't actually your new friend.
Mhm.
So okay, Garcelle. Next, we get the unfortunate news that Lois, Lisa Rinna's mom, passed away while on hospice at 93 and a half years old. Rinna said it was the hardest decision to choose for her to like not live. Her mom had a very strict like DNR, no feeding
Mhm.
tubes, no machines, no nothing, just let me go. And that sucked. We got a lot of like highlights of Lois throughout the last few years and
Yeah.
whatever. And like Lois things were always fun. Lois is probably like the best
Yeah.
part of Lisa Rinna's appearance,
1000%.
like
No
on.
question.
So
No question.
Lisa Rinna, I'm sorry for your loss.
Mhm.
We
Rest in
get
peace to Lois.
yes, a true OG. And we get Kyle FaceTiming Erica, which my question to you is, do you always FaceTime with your phone like
Oh
up
my god, this
at
was killing me, the way she was holding her phone. I was like, "This girl, what is wrong with you? You look
right?
like a fool."
Yeah. Absolutely. I was just like, fucking put it face level.
It
Like,
was, like, comically, like I know not everybody is watching this as we're recording, but it's, like, up, like, a foot above her head at a point, and she's looking up. It's like she's, like, craning her neck to look up to her phone. It's like it looked insane.
to me, it kind of had the vibes of like, like the motorcycles with the handlebars like all the way up, and and
Yes, the ones that are
they
super
drive by,
high.
and it's like, what's the purpose
Yeah,
of
like,
this? Like,
why are you this high up? Yeah.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I was getting from Kyle's FaceTime method is like, you're not taking a selfie. Like, you can bring the phone down and
Also, she
it's
knows what you look
okay.
like.
Yeah. We know what you look like too. So you don't need
Yeah.
to
But
it was
she's,
just
like, seen her in person, and this
yeah.
is, like, still, like, you need to feel like you have to be like this when it was wild. That was truly wild.
Yeah.
Aside from Sutton and the ice cube, this was, like, almost the most wild moment of the episode. This actually is more wild. I'm waffling. They're both equally as wild to me. Because you could tell she was, like, uncomfortable holding her arm up, and she kept putting it down, then she would put it back up. I'm
Mhm.
like, "Get a selfie stick. If you're gonna look this ridiculous, take it the next level and get a fucking selfie stick."
Or just like get a stand and keep it on there. I don't know. There's gotta be
Sure.
better ways, but
Get,
that
like,
I
a suction cup and keep it
yeah.
on, like, your cabinet or something.
Yeah. And I mean the whole purpose of this was just talking about if Lisa was gonna come on the trip or not, which was a totally pointless phone call. So I'm hoping that it was
Just call
included
each
in this
other.
episode.
Not everything has to be a FaceTime.
Okay, but do you have people in your life that like everything is a FaceTime? Because I do.
No, thank God, because I
Oh,
can't.
I have a couple.
I won't answer an unprompted FaceTime. Like, if I
I
don't know you're FaceTiming me, I'm not answering it.
I have gotten better about answering it. I think like the pandemic has actually done that for me because I
Mm.
used to like hate being on video calls and shit. And now it's like I'll show up on one of these podcasts, like not having showered in 2 days. I don't give a fuck. But uh it's
I'm
over two
wearing
days.
founding father hair, so
It's
I'm clearly with you.
it's usually 1 to like 1.5 days. But I I don't know. For me, I don't mind it as much, but I just like I mean, if you're calling me unprompted anyway, I'm assuming someone's dying. Like, that's also my thing.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah,
It
but
depends who it is. It depends who it is for me.
I have someone who is, like, strictly a FaceTimer and does not call,
Mm.
and, I give her a hard time about it. So, yeah, there's either way, it could've been I mean, it could've been a text message, whatever. It's just more I'm hoping that the Beverly Hills people, like the producers, editors, whatever, included this simply so we can make fun of how Kyle FaceTimes because there wasn't a
I would
point for
like to
that
think so.
conversation. Like, I'm gonna allow that to be the reason
Yeah,
for
your
it, whether or
headcanon.
not it is, like, I'm gonna give them credit where it might not be due.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So after we get the women meeting up to leave for the trip and Lisa is there, she says she's here for her girls and her mom. They all wanted her to go. Lois would want her to go on this trip. And she says that Lois or that her daughter got there 12 hours before Lois passed away. So it seems like
Mhm.
Lois was kind of like holding on
Waiting.
until, yeah. And I've definitely like heard other stories like that. And like,
Mhm.
they're always touching, you know, it's like, good. I'm glad
Yeah.
the people who need to see this person, like, got to see this person one last time or whatever. Um, but, we get Erica, like, coming sauntering in and being like, "Oh, oh, oh," playing around, then realizes, like, Lisa's there, and then, like, it's like, "Oh,
What a
shit,
dumbass.
you're here." But Lisa says this is gonna be a happy trip.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. So, they take the private jet, and then
Can I just
afterwards
say one thing about a private jet?
yeah, you can say
I'm
as many things as
a
you want.
Oh, thank you. I'm a nervous flyer. So
Mhm.
a private jet's actually my nightmare because they are small planes.
Uh-huh.
Like this doesn't make me feel comfortable being in a private. I mean, I've never been in one, so
Mhm.
I probably never will. But the bigger the plane, the better for me because that makes you feel like it's less likely to fall out of the sky.
Mhm.
So a private jet is like akin to a small plane to me, which I will never fly in. So like I don't understand. Kyle is like quote unquote famously afraid to fly. She always makes a big scene about it. So I'm like, if
Mhm.
it were me, I wouldn't be like, oh, we're going on the private plane where I can't even stand up and there's only one seat on each side and I have to like crunch down and there's barely any room here. How many jets are on this thing? How many engines? If a bird flies into this one engine, are we going to stay up or is there another engine to keep us afloat? Like what's going on here?
Okay, so I've been seeing TikToks that like you can somewhat affordably like charter a flight so you can fly with your pets. And so I have become more and more interested in private jets over the last like
Oh,
2
interesting.
weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Well,
there's
if you
certain
take one, let me
company
know how terrifying it is.
see, that's the thing is like that shit doesn't phase me in the slightest. I'm not
Okay.
afraid of a small plane. I've jumped out of like I've gone skydiving. I will go bungee jumping. Small planes don't scare me. Planes don't scare me. Like that shit doesn't phase me. So I would probably not
Teach me
have
your
like
ways.
honestly, my mindset on it is like I'm far more likely to die driving my car. There's like far more
True.
car accidents than there are plane accidents. It's just like the plane ones are like way more dramatic, but they happen such like so like less frequently that I'm like, okay. And I mean, I don't know. It's just it's never really been something that's scared me. So
I'm jealous. I wish I could live life like a reasonable person like you.
my brother is similar to you. He has to get like hammered before going on a plane. Um Which I'm sure
Yeah.
makes the ride enjoyable for everyone else around him, but he hates it.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's rough for me. It's not a great experience.
Yeah, stuff like that. There was a point where I was flying so often where, like, I would fall asleep before takeoff and, like, sleep through takeoff.
Oh, that's my dream.
I can't do it anymore because I don't fly as frequently as I used to, but there was a point where, like, "Okay, cool, like, just wake me up when this ends. It doesn't matter what time of day it is." Like,
That's my
sick.
dream.
So, I don't know.
For
I
me, I
don't
would rather take a first class flight if I were these women on
Mhm,
a big ass plane.
mhm,
So I know I'm like, oh, I'm good. Like this plane has been inspected. We're on a major airline. Things are good. It flies all the time. We're all good. Everything's good. We have a
mhm.
staff on here. I can like ask them. I know there's staff on private planes too, but you know, it's just a little different. That
And
would be
I
me. I would be like, I'm just gonna take my first class flight instead of
yeah.
you this tiny little private jet, and we'll see. how it goes.
I'll fly commercial. See you later.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not too good for that.
Well, once they safely land and everyone did make it to Mexico,
Yeah.
so good job.
Kyle cheered.
Yep. They then get into cars, and the way that the cars split up was actually kind of funny to me. So they had Garcelle, Sutton, Erica, and who is the fourth in that car?
I think Crystal.
I think it might
I
have been
think
Chris.
Crystal was with them because
Yeah,
Kyle made a comment and said all the awkward is in that car.
yeah. Okay, I wrote that down. All the awkwards in the car. I just didn't write who it was, but that car was funnier to me when Garcelle is
Hell
like,
yeah.
that $5 that Dorit's speaking Spanish in the other car, and they cut to her speaking Spanish. And then Sutton goes, yeah, it's even worse when they answer her in English and she still keeps speaking Spanish, and they cut to her half and they're doing that. Like,
This was the funniest part of the episode to me. This
it
was the
was
funniest part
so
of the
good.
episode.
So good. Like they have Dorit to a T. Like there's nothing surprising about her at this point. And then they talk about how Diana sends people early and how that was funny to them. And then we see Diana's people early again at the place, getting the place cozy and secure for her.
Yeah, I felt like this was just a complete repeat of what we saw in the episode where they went to Palm Springs because we already had this whole segment. And she's like, I fly people. They're my people that I fly. And I'm like, yeah, we already heard you explain this entire thing. And we already saw them doing this for you in another place. Why are we getting this entire segment over again?
Because if you didn't realize she was fucking rich the first time, you
I
can
was just
now.
confused. I felt like she was repeating almost exactly what she was saying in that other episode. It
Yeah.
was very
No, I agree with
strange.
you. I agree. Once they get there, we get like different shots of the women in their rooms. I didn't write anything down about it. So if there was anything you
Mm,
want to talk about, great.
nope.
Cool. So we cut over to dinner, and first it begins with Rinna talking about her mom and just like, it really hasn't hit me yet. I have moments where I like see that moment where her mom passed away, and I don't really like that. She was like, my mom loved being famous. And then Rinna's like, so what did I miss while I was gone? To which,
Rinna doing her job.
yep. Sutton, well, they were like, well, Sutton had her store opening, and then there was like nothing said. And Rinna's like, you guys are very quiet. Like,
Yeah.
clearly something happened. So Sutton chimes in and is like, I was busy that week, so I missed some stuff too. And I want to make it very clear that me and my family come from a place of love. I want to make sure that there's not any mistruths being spoken. So we don't
Mhm.
exactly tell Rinna what's happened here, but I'm sure Rinna already knows. There's no way that
Of course. Of
second
course, her and
car
Erica are, yeah, and in the car.
didn't like talk about it. So, all right, I wrote down a bunch of things that were said. I have a lot of
Okay.
dialogue here. So, I'll stop at points, and if there's any point you want me to stop, just tell me. But this brings us to the end of the episode, so we can stop wherever we need to.
Okay.
We have Crystal saying, I felt uncomfortable with what was being said, and we have gone through it. And Sutton goes, then why bring it up? I want to be able to trust this friendship that we are developing. To where Crystal said, well, the tone was heavy and uncomfortable. Don't
Mhm.
you? I kind of want to stop there. Like,
Yeah.
so to me, this now takes on a different thing because it's like, are you saying directly what Sutton said is racist, or were you were you picking up on things that maybe you were picking up on again because of like the
Yeah.
tension between the two of you? So like in this moment, I felt like Crystal unfortunately like lost a little bit of credibility,
I
especially
think
because
so
we
too.
heard what was said, and we don't need to like reanalyze it. We've already talked about it. And
Yeah.
so like for me, you're kind of like changing your position here because we've talked about it. We talk about our love of Jacoby. It's not what you say, but how you, or
Yeah.
it's not what you do, but how you do it, or it's not what you say,
Mhm.
but like how you said it. It's kind of same thing. So like if Crystal had from the beginning said like, yeah, you said something that like could be maybe misunderstood, maybe not, but it was like how you said it that really has like stuck with me over this last year and why I'm still
Yeah.
bringing it up. I think in that instance, it's a lot easier to be like, okay, let's interpret this because
Right.
we've been going for content this whole time. And clearly Crystal had like either other or more feelings about it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think from what Garcelle said and was like, I feel like you were kind of like trying to, I forget the exact wording that she said, but I feel like you were trying to like get her or whatever. What was she saying? I don't remember exactly how she phrased it, but like you would have done this to Sutton no matter what. Like I feel
Mhm.
like you were trying, oh, set her up. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Um, I think all Crystal really had to say here is that there was more to this conversation that you saw, and the way that it made me feel is that like, or whatever, like just say like I felt like the tone was whatever, and it stuck with like, yeah, we talked about it, but like that's gonna stick with me. It's not just gonna like go away overnight. We're good now, but at the time there was a connotation behind it that I didn't like, and we talked about it and we're good, but like I think that's a little different than being like, there was more said and it was dark. Because then
Mhm.
it's like, okay, then what did she say that was so dark? If you
Mhm.
just said, like, I just didn't like, it didn't come across, given the situation, I didn't like the way that she said this thing to me, and it just like made me feel some kind of way, then I think it would be a little bit different than kind of how she phrased it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if now is a good time to bring it up or towards the end, so I can bring it up now, I guess, is that I know I've given Sutton shit, and so have a bunch of other people for like when she's in a situation she's uncomfortable, she says dumb shit.
Yeah.
It feels like Crystal is also not the best in moments where she
Yeah.
feels uncomfortable, where
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier to um it's not like saying what she's feeling, but I think she says things strongly, and
Yeah.
that gives people like what they think room is to fight her. And then like when she kind of then I don't know, she like here she's branching off. To me, it just through this, I was like, oh, she just doesn't handle like the difficulty well. And I don't know, I feel like it kind of showed up a bit. Not in the same way
Yeah.
as Sutton, but like in a related way to Sutton, I guess.
Yeah. It almost feels like she is very direct in the way that she initially says something, but then when she's questioned or challenged, she doesn't really iterate on it. She just
Mhm.
like continues to repeat what she's saying, and she
Yeah.
doesn't give like additional context behind what she's saying. Not that she always has to. I mean, like you really don't always have to defend yourself, but I think with Crystal in some of these scenarios, she's like putting herself out there in these ways that are like, well, this thing happened and it made me feel this way. And people are like, well, why? What you're saying is not making sense. And then she doesn't really like delve a little deeper to make it make sense. When
Mhm.
it's like when you're the one making the statement, it's kind of like then on you to kind of, if you want people to understand where you're coming from, you have to help them understand whether or not like in sometimes with the conversation that they had in Palm Springs, I feel like the women were being just like generally obtuse. This I feel like there was so much room that Crystal left for interpretation that she had to expand a little bit more, and she just
Mhm.
didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And if she had expanded in the beginning, we get to have different storylines for the last two episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, it's like
Crystal,
they
for
were like a dog with a bone with this.
yeah, for this reason alone, Crystal, I'm upset with you because
Yeah, just like save yourself. Save
I
yourself
I do want to
the trouble.
clarify that like I love a good conversation on heavy topics. Like
Yeah,
I
same.
don't get tired of it by any means, but like the way that this is being done here is tiring, and I don't want it to be perceived that I'm saying like things like conversations about racism or racial issues or like perceived
Yeah.
racism, whatever it is tiring, because that's not it at all. um I love learning from those types of conversations.
Yeah.
Like I will sit there and absorb, and so I just want to make sure that like that is clear that I'm not tired. I'm tired of the way that it is done here because this is not a productive conversation. This is
Yeah.
not moving any needles forward in in any way. So
If
just to put that.
anything, I think it's almost doing a disservice to Crystal because
Mhm.
it's giving these women a reason to like really come at her and
Yeah.
take away kind of her voice in the situation. And they're just diminishing everything that she's saying because of the way it kind of was like put out there. Um, and that I think is unfortunate.
I agree. Absolutely. So after that part, we get Dorit saying, well, you said it was something worse and dark. And Crystal goes, words are like a Rorschach. And Garcelle goes, what? And Erica
This
goes,
was not good for
a
me.
blot test. And Crystal goes, I know, these are big words. And Garcelle's like, we understand big words.
Yeah, this was fucked up. I don't know why she said this, and I don't know what she was trying to imply. Like, Garcelle is highly intelligent. I just
Hmm.
don't know why she would say, like, yeah, we're using big words. Like, of course Garcelle understands big words. Why would you make that implication that she doesn't? That I
Right.
didn't like.
Yeah, there's no defending it. Um,
No.
and I agree with you. I didn't like it either. And also, like, Garcelle is arguably like the closest to being on your side.
Right. And it's like you
Why
take,
ostracize yourself with a comment like that?
and it's like you're upset about, and what Sutton said was ignorant, but an
Hmm.
ignorant comment or a microaggression from Sutton, how is this not a microaggression from Crystal to Garcelle?
Right. Right. No, absolutely. I agree with
Like
you.
she's not thinking about the implication of saying that this black woman doesn't understand
Hmm.
big words. Like what the fuck is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. After that, we get Sun saying, I feel like you've tried to assassinate my character twice. Crystal says, I understand. And Erica chimes in, this is what I was saying last year. And Sun goes, it's different. And Erica goes, there's similarities. And Garcelle goes, the difference is that the whole world was questioning Erica while Crystal is directly attacking someone's character. That was in a confessional and not the table, but
Yeah.
was said regardless.
Erica kills me. Like shut up. Not everything has to revolve back to you and have anything to do with what happened last year.
Hmm.
It's literally a completely different situation.
Yeah, she won't let
It's
that
every
go.
time that Sutton is in like an argument, she's like, "Oh, where's my apology? What about that?" It's just like, why are you bringing it back? This has nothing to do with you. Nothing
Right.
to do with you.
Right. Like they can be two separate experiences. Like they can have similarities, but it's not like when
Right.
one comes up, the other one has to
Yeah.
either.
Like you're not proving your point here.
Yeah.
Whatever your point is, nobody knows.
So when Crystal says, we have to stop denying my experience, Kyle said, you can't also hurt someone's character. You said that whatever she said was so dark and horrible. That's what gaslighting is, which,
Nope, it's not.
no, it's
That's
not,
actually
Kyle.
not what gaslighting is, but okay.
That so I take back, Kyle. I don't think you used it correctly
Yeah,
the
I think
first
maybe
time.
she
I
accidentally
think you,
used it
yeah,
correctly. Yeah.
like a broken clock is right twice a day. Good
Yeah,
job,
she fell
Kyle.
backwards into that one.
Yeah. So someone tell her what it is. It actually is. So then Crystal says, if this was someone else, they would not be questioned. I think they see me as someone they can easily attack. That was in a confessional. And then
Mhm.
Garcelle turns and says, how do you feel about it, Sutton? And Erica goes, Sutton, what do you feel she's accusing you of? And Sutton says, I just don't want any insinuations about my personal character. And then Erica says what everyone else is thinking, which this is like the first like okay, Erica had a moment like an episode or two ago where she was kind of like a little bit voice of reasoning with like
Yeah.
Crystal after everything went down. But here, thank you, Erica, for saying this, where she says, you just want her to say that she doesn't think you're a racist.
Yeah. And this is the one time, this is where I feel like it's weird because the way that they show it is that like 2 minutes before Erica's coming at Sutton, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's almost like she's trying to be the translator of Sutton who won't fully say that because I think
Mm-hmm.
Sutton's afraid to say that. I think she
Yeah.
like really is afraid to like put her foot in her mouth because
Mm-hmm.
as we know, she does that very often. So Erica's like, you just want her to say that you're not a racist, period. Because
Mm-hmm.
she's right now implying that you're a racist and you don't want that insinuation out there because obviously you don't want that insinuation out there. And it
Right.
almost feels like she then takes that and says it to Crystal in a way that like she almost has Sutton's back, which is very confusing. Because I'm like, don't you hate her? I'm just confused. I
Yeah.
think they're all scared. Honestly, I think all these white women are scared that they're going to be accused of being a racist, and they're
Mm-hmm.
they're all like, "Oh, well, we can't. Like, that's crossing the line because like we don't want to be called racist." So I think
Right.
that's why it just happens to be Sutton.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And I think like Erica saying this gives me like a little bit of glimpse of why I appreciate her so much in like her earlier seasons was like
Mhm.
with being direct and being upfront, like the whole like her not wearing underwear thing, how that became a huge deal and how she like kind
Yeah.
of confronted whatever. Like, like she she isn't one for bullshit and will say things how she thinks them, like, given her way of thinking right now in regards to, like, this whole lawsuit or whatever is a whole different story, but
Yeah.
in a situation
She's
like
full of
this.
bullshit, but she doesn't deal with other people's bullshit.
Right. That's a great way of phrasing it. So I appreciate Erica saying something here. And this kind of also like set Sun off because I also think it's like, all right, if the person at this table who likes me the least is saying kind of like what I've been thinking, then I'm going to like up my intensity of being
Yeah.
upset by this. I think that it
I
like I wonder if like Rinna said it or if Kyle said it, if the reaction from Sutton would have been as big. I think there would have still been a reaction because like, okay, those worms are out of that can. However, I think
yeah.
like it almost is a shit. Even Erica is saying this like on
Yeah.
behalf of me. If you aren't seeing it now, then like when the fuck are you gonna see it? Type of thing.
Yeah, I think it's probably a mix of that, and I think it's a mix of, like, Sutton probably was thinking that in her
Yeah.
head and probably hoped that no one else was thinking that, and now that it's like, "Oh, now it's out there that, like,
Mhm.
I'm kinda being portrayed as a racist here," like, I think that, like, the fact that it was even said at all probably was like, "Yeah, okay, like, this is not cool."
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where
Especially
we
just because we found out what it was that was said.
right.
I think
Right.
ignorant is a fine term, I think racist is a little too far for Sutton.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after this, everyone's kind of like, yeah, this is like not great for you, Sutton. And
When
Sutton,
Lorena was like, "It's already bad. This is
yeah.
already not good." I was like, "These women probably make her feel so awful."
Hmm.
Like, it's so bad.
So Sutton goes, yeah, I'm fucking pissed. I said nothing wrong and nothing bad. So now Sutton's really like hunkering
Yeah.
down on this. And Crystal goes, I didn't bring it up. And Sutton goes, yes, you did. And you have a pattern of this. Stop making up lies about your friends behind their backs. I'm telling you because I like you. And so then we get this confessional from Sutton, which she says she's been told from other people that used to be Crystal's friends that it's Crystal's MO basically to do anything she needs to be best friends with the most powerful girl in the group. And
Mhm.
Rinna in her confessional says like I've heard these same things that Sutton is talking about, but I've chosen to not say anything about them
I think she said, "I've chosen not to use it." And
or
I was like,
use
"This
it.
is,
Yeah.
like, very interesting wording choice from Rinna because it's like, Rinna uses things when she
Yeah.
needs to use them." And I was like, "This is just, like, an insight into the way her mind works."
Yeah, it's definitely not surprising. If anything, like it
Mm-mm.
tracks for Rinna.
Mhm. Surprisingly self-aware for her to phrase it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe she slipped.
There was something I was going to ask. Oh, who do you think that they think Crystal is trying to become best friends with, if that's like her thing? Because that's the
I
part I
don't
don't
know.
understand. Like, what is she accomplishing by doing that? Who is she trying to cozy up to?
I don't know, I guess maybe they're thinking, like, the broader group of women, like, because she had that falling out the few
Oh,
nights before, now that's like, throwing this out about Sutton will get her closer to the Fox Force 5 or whatever the fuck they're called their alliance is called. That's the only thing I can think of, but, like, even that, it's like they're not on great terms with her anyway. So now
yeah.
it's like you had people on your side and these other people who weren't on your side or were confused about why you're upset,
Hmm.
and now it's like you've just kind of ostracized yourself from everybody.
Yeah, that was like the part of the explanation. I was like, I'm not sure I get like
Mhm.
who the best friend is that she's trying to like be best friends with. Because
With
I've seen people like
Kyle?
that who like try to want to be as close to power as possible. Like
Yeah.
I don't like disagree that that's a thing, but in this instance, it's like who is that person? Like I think objectively we can say Kyle, but subjectively, if you took look at like what's going on, what she's doing with Kyle is not putting her in Kyle's good graces. So
No.
I just don't understand it, I guess. But I don't understand a lot of this. All right. So then we get Kyle saying, I have no choice but to say this is what I witnessed. And Crystal goes, Kyle chooses to focus on what serves her and not what hurts me or people of color, which I believe was in a confessional. And then Sutton tells everybody what this bad, dark thing was. And Garcelle says, that's not as dark as you made it out to be. And Crystal turns and goes, was it problematic to you? And Garcelle says, no, what's problematic to me is that you're trying to make Sutton out to be something she isn't. And that's where our episode ends.
Yeah, I think it's It's interesting. And I think if the way that Crystal brought this up was different, I think people would be taking more stock into what she's saying, which I'm not saying is right. I think if she's upset about this or was upset about this, then people should hear what she has to say. I just think the way that she presented it made it seem, and this is what everybody was saying. When you say this, this makes everybody assume that this is the worst possible thing that Sutton could have done because you are refusing to repeat what it was. So
Mhm.
when they actually hear it, then they're like, oh, that's it. When if you would have just said it to begin with and said, this is why this bothered me, or this, she made this ignorant comment, and like, yeah, we've moved beyond it, but at the end of the day, like that's why I said you don't see color or whatever. Like there was more said there to answer
Mhm.
Garcelle's original question or comment about like were you trying to set her up? But because I feel like she went so above and beyond to say like it was dark and I'm not repeating it. We've worked through it, but it was dark and maybe you guys wouldn't understand it because, you know, but Garcelle and I would. It's like, okay, you're really putting a connotation here against something that once now we find out what it is, it takes the wind out of your sails because it's not as bad as you made it seem. I'm not saying it's not an ignorant statement. I'm not saying that Sutton, again, isn't clumsy with her words or, you know, is, again, had a lot of learning to do, but it just made it seem so much worse.
Right. And you can't like once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back
Yeah,
in.
you can't put it back in. Exactly.
And this is
Exactly.
where she's at. She's created a situation where she's like squeezed out too much too soon, and now there is a
Hmm.
mess over the sink, and we're not happy about cleaning it up.
Yeah, exactly. And I am upset that this is, again, like you said, a storyline that's continued over episodes and episodes. And for all the reasons that you meant, not because we're having a tough discussion. I think it's taking a lot of credibility away from Crystal inadvertently on her part. And I don't know that it should. I just think that it is. And I think it gives, again, these women this opportunity to just like question her experience when these women are all ignorant. I mean, it's not only Sutton who's ignorant. I just it's just disappointing. I also think there's a little bit more conversation. I think Diana brought up that Crystal's young, and I
Yeah.
get very annoyed by how they're treating Crystal like she's a little girl. This
Yes.
has really been bothering me that they act like, oh, well, is this like a millennial thing? And is this like
Mhm.
as someone who is close to Crystal's age, like her feelings are valid. Whether you
Yeah.
guys want to, whether she expresses them appropriately or not, they are valid feelings because she felt them. So it's not up to them to say that her feelings are valid or they aren't. And I just think it's like, I don't like that. This is like kind of similar to what you were saying about Gia and Joe Gorga. Like
Mhm.
just because he's an adult and she's in her early 20s doesn't mean that she doesn't understand how she feels and can't
Right.
express herself. And that's how I feel about the way that they're talking about Crystal and calling her like a whiny millennial. Kyle said like, is this a millennial thing in her confessional? And then they're calling her young. It's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Right.
This just makes you seem old as fuck and out of touch, actually, is what this makes it seem like.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't even think of it from that way. But yeah, she's like being ageist out of it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. The whole thing is like a little I don't love it. Doesn't paint anybody in a great light, I will say.
No, I'm hoping that next week is the last episode that we have this being a main thing because now that like it's out, this was said, we're at the dinner, we'll get maybe a little bit of resolution here. Sutton and Crystal will talk one on one, and then we can hopefully like move on.
Yeah,
Um, that's my dream for next episode. I don't
same.
know if it's going to happen, but we shall see.
We
I don't remember what happened in the preview, so if there's anything from the preview you want to talk about.
it does look like we get some Garcelle versus Erica because Erica's talking shit, probably about Sutton,
Oh,
and Garcelle's like, "You're bugging the shit out of me," and I'm like, "Oh, I
mhm.
can't wait to see this.
Yeah,
My
I do
body's ready
remember
for
that.
this."
I do remember that.
So it seems like that might be where we like start to get the Garcelle versus Erica drama of the season, which like great, let's move on. We also haven't seen Kathy Hilton once yet.
Yeah. I mean, we know she's coming because Lisa and Kyle and Kathy have that scene that was in like all the previews and shit of
Mhm.
like, do you hate your sister or something like that.
Yeah,
So
this will be peak Rinna.
stir in the pot.
Ugh.
Classic Rinna shit. All right. Well, I'm ready to move on to Atlanta. Are you?
Oh, I've been ready.
Perfect. Let's get into this. So we start off with Sheree because if you recall, Sheree was left by herself. Um, on an outdoor patio waiting for Tyrone to show up, and he didn't.
Justice for
Um,
Sheree.
yeah, absolutely. So she said that Tyrone called her the next day and acted like nothing happened. And she was like, I'll call you back, but hasn't called him back since.
Yeah. What the fuck, Tyrone?
Okay. If one of the women did that to her, she would tear them a new asshole. And so the fact that
Yeah.
she's like sitting here and like I know that the silent treatment can almost be worse than um getting yelled at because like then you're at least getting the attention and the confrontation out of it versus like what the fuck are they thinking? I have no idea right now. I do understand that, but my god, for television, Sheree going off on Tyrone for us would be top-notch shit. Top fucking
Yes.
notch shit. And to me, not to get too far in, but it feels like she's projecting a bit at people
Yeah,
like
it does.
Kenya,
Mhm.
um, where like, yo, Kenya was the first person you called and was there for you. Like,
Offered to
anyway,
get you
I
a flight.
yeah, I'm not I'm not gonna get into that too much yet because I have opinions, but I
Yeah,
just wish that
same.
you would address her or address Tyrone, please. Like,
Me
and let me
too.
see it.
Yeah, also yeah, I would love to see it. But I also think like maybe this is more of a case of her just being like instead of angry, she's just hurt and she feels
Yeah.
like more heartbroken. And I think sometimes it's harder to convey that feeling than anger.
Mhm.
So I feel bad for her.
No, absolutely. I do feel bad for her because she's like been ride or die for this guy while he's been in prison and
Mhm.
has dealt with
What
all of
a
like
fucking loser.
the public out like the publicity of dating someone in jail and like why are you doing this? Why are you waiting? Blah blah blah. And here it is, like his opportunity to show up and show why she's waited for this man, and he's probably fucking some other woman in Philadelphia.
Yeah. And do we know if she's giving him money?
She is.
No, I don't know. Do we know if she is?
I mean,
Like, was she sending him money and stuff when he was in jail? Like, was
I
she?
don't know if it was ever said, but like I would assume.
I would assume too.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
She says she hasn't left the house since they got back from the New York Philadelphia trip, and she just doesn't know if she's ready to give up on Tyrone.
Sheree, this man is not for you. This man is not for you.
Mm-mm. I mean, Sheree does have a track record of picking like the worst, so
Ugh,
um,
yeah, she really does.
it wouldn't be too soon to grow out of that, Sheree. I would support that move for you.
Same.
But we cut next to Kenya and Drew, who have this budding friendship. I want to say something here. This is Drew's
Yes,
best
please.
episode in 2 seasons. You want to know
Okay.
why? There was no Ralph.
Oh, true. So true. That's a great point. I agree.
I think I've said like remove Ralph from the situation and maybe she gets a little better, but like Ralph and Drew, I'm over and I see bits of why Drew is here right now. I'm not fully in on Drew by any means, but I
No.
will give her that this is best um her best episode in two
Yeah.
seasons. However, I also would like for her to shut up on Twitter. So I follow her on our like
Oh,
school
okay.
water show account, and she's just like trying to create drama on Twitter through the episode. And it's like just let the episode do the talking
Yeah.
because we don't need this. Like your commentary isn't doing much for us right now. Like you don't have the power of like Kenya tweeting something during the episode and then having like thousands of people backing you because like you're still not
Right.
that liked. Like Drew, just if you aren't going to add like worthwhile things that we don't know versus like, oh, she's just using me for a storyline. Drew, no one is using you for a
Yeah,
storyline
no
except
one
your
needs to
fucking husband.
use
Like that's it.
exactly. Exactly.
So I thought she had her best episode. I need her off of Twitter. That's my
Yeah.
overall review of Drew this episode. But we get the two of them talking. So we've got Kenya thinking that they have a lot in common, such as losing their voice in their marriages. So I definitely agree with that. I don't know if Drew's lost her voice. I think
I
Drew,
just think her husband doesn't listen to her or take her
yeah,
seriously and probably never has and has no respect for her. I think she still has her voice. I just don't think he cares about her voice.
yeah, I think it's just like in one ear and out the other with him.
Yeah.
So, um, we get them. I think they're at like a hot pot place, which like I love hot pot. It looks like hot pot at least.
You
It
know,
made
I've never
me.
had hot pot and I need to try it. I get
Oh.
nervous just because I'm a vegetarian, so it's like sometimes those things are hard for me.
Mhm.
But I just need to go with someone that like knows what to order, and then I'll be good.
Yeah, you would just have to do like a seafood thing, I'm assuming. But
Yeah.
it's fun. I've been to like fancy ones. I've been to not as fancy ones, and if
Mm,
you like soup, it's a good time. That's really what it
love
comes down
soup.
to. So, uh, to me, like this was kind of like a little bit of a red flag. How Drew is like, "Wait, are you paying for the shrimp and calamari that we're ordering?" Like, all right, I am not rich. Like my job pays me well
Hmm.
enough. But if I wanted to go out and get shrimp and calamari, I'm not like worried about the check that's coming.
No, and I'm not ordering shit that I can't afford to eat.
And so like it was Kenya that ordered it, but she's like, "Oh, are you paying for this?" Like she acted like she ordered the fucking wagyu beef and like the surf and turf when it's like shrimp and calamari. I don't know, just like Drew, you're
Yeah.
concerning me because you play it off like, "Oh, my bundles are worth $1,000," but like you can't do shrimp hot pot. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
There
We also
might be.
can't afford to have the drop it with Drew website actually functioning.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm not like trying to count someone else's money, but I just think it's
no.
weird that like this is where you're voicing your concerns about money being spent. And they did flash
Also,
back to
like, is Bravo not paying for this?
right. I feel like we've
Like,
read
are we
about
not
this.
expensing these lunches? This is a work lunch. Are we not expensing this?
Yeah, I've never worked in a place where I got to expense things, so I don't know how that works. um,
See, I feel like if this were a real life situation,
mhm.
like for me, and I was out to lunch with a coworker, well, yeah, no, if it was like required by my job, I
Yeah,
would be expensing it.
that makes sense. I feel like we've read about this, and I just can't remember what was said. Like who
I know.
pays for what? I can get back to it at some point. So we find out that Brooklyn spent the night with Mark, just Mark for the first time ever. So Brooklyn's 4.
Yeah,
Um,
that what the fuck, Mark?
yeah, that's kind of crazy, but
Mark is trash.
Kenya won't give up on like having Mark in Brooklyn's life. So if that's what she wants, like I'm glad then that this happened and hopefully it can happen more often so that both Brooklyn and Kenya are getting what they want out of Mark in
Hmm.
this um, parenting situation. And then we get Drew being like, "Yeah, I need to hold Ralph more accountable." And she appreciates that Kenya spoke up for her. Okay, I don't really want to talk about Ralph. So,
Neither do I.
uh, then we get that are them talking about the trip. Kenya didn't like that there were men and sex toys on the trip. And
I
she said,
agree with Kenya.
I don't mind the men part because Candy said, like, bring whoever, but the
Well,
sex toy
yeah.
part is like, yeah, that was just a little weird. We didn't
Yeah.
really need that. It didn't really serve much purpose besides like Candy trying to move product.
Also, it's like if you're gonna like do that, you need the consent of everybody in the room to be like, okay, the other husbands are gonna have your money. And like it seems like
Hmm.
people didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird.
Yes, definitely. Then we get the issues that Sonia has with Drew, and Drew lets them know or lets Kenya know that she was invited to this like mommy nation photo shoot, but then uninvited. And
Yeah.
Drew feels like Sonia isn't being a friend to her. So how do you feel about the uninvite move here?
So I've really been liking Sonia up until this episode. And I hate to be on Drew's side here, but I'm a little bit on Drew's side here. I feel like Sonia kind of came at her a little bit out of nowhere and like was a little all over the place with her explanation. And then to just like randomly uninvite her to something that she invited her to. I get what she's saying of like, this isn't the place that we should have the conversation, but it seems strange. It seems like she's taken it like a level higher than it needs to be because like nothing actually happened.
Yeah, she's just like annoyed by some of Drew's actions, and that
Yeah.
has made it
Which
like a
like
public thing.
same.
Yeah. I for the drama's sake, I appreciate a good invite than uninvite.
Same. And I like drama like this because it's not like too deep. It's like funny
Yeah.
to me. So like I
Yeah.
like conflict like this. This is what I like out of my housewives.
Yeah, Sonia definitely brought some popular girl energy this episode
Mhm.
in terms of like I invited the people that I was like the most close to. Okay, you invited like the longest tenured housewives to be in your photo shoot that you're going to use
That
for
part.
your merchandise, and you didn't tell them that was going to be a photo shoot because you know that Kenya would have charged you for her fucking time as well as
As she
Kandi.
should. As
Yeah.
she should. Was it Kandi who was like, Kenny doesn't do anything without a check?
Yeah.
And I'm like, neither do you.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's not forget you don't either.
Who are we talking to here?
Yeah. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. We did end the lunch with Drew asking Kenya to unblock her on Instagram. And Kenya's like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, someone's gonna have to help me.
The most classic Kenya shit is like, oh, I can block you, but I can't unblock you. Like that like sums up her personality very well to me.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
have no issue
Same.
fucking cutting you out, but it's gonna take a lot of
Yeah.
work to get you back in.
Yep. As it should.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, you are. Was that your cat?
No, it's Matt playing a video
Okay, I
game.
thought it was your. I thought it was
I'm
Matt at
literally
first, but then
messaging
it
him right now
sounded
and being
like
like, can
cat.
you shut your door?
So funny. That's actually very funny. All right, so next we get the Mommy Nation photo shoot, and she invited Kandi and Kenya. Kenya had no idea it was a photo shoot, and it's part of the Black Friday sale. So she told them that Sonia told Kandi and Kenya that she felt the most connected to them on the trip, which is why she invited them, which is funny because she had invited Drew and then uninvited Drew, so she was close with Drew and then isn't. But Sonia wants to have a night with all the ladies and be able to pull Drew aside to talk to her. So Sonia at least is looking to confront her issue, which, okay,
Mhm.
appreciate that. And then Kenya tells them about Sheree and Tyrone and all the drama that went down there. Kandi again says that she thinks that Tyrone couldn't show up because he can't explain to the woman that he's staying with where he would be going. And
Rough.
Kenya says they're going to do a single ladies' night for Sheree. I don't disagree with Kandi here. I don't think she's wrong.
I don't know that he's like staying with a woman, but I do think he's probably got something else going on for sure.
Yeah.
There's
But
no way
like,
he's staying faithful, especially after getting out of jail for all that time. And I'm not saying that she's making the wrong decision by not having sex with him. He's getting it somewhere else.
yeah. I
Long
also
distance like that.
wonder, like, if he had family in Philadelphia. I mean, given no one has like said to Sheree's face, like he's probably fucking someone else. But we haven't heard her say like, "Oh, he's in Philadelphia because," and like,
I
who is
think he's
he?
from there.
Yeah, but who is he staying with? Like, is he in like a
I think
halfway
she
house?
said he's in a halfway house.
Okay, so then I take all of everything I was about to say back.
But like, is he?
I don't know.
Or is he just saying that? Like, I don't know. Are
There's
you
other
allowed to
people.
visit a halfway house? Maybe he could be. Well, she said he has a monitor
Mm-hmm.
and he's under house arrest. So yeah, I guess I don't know. That seems like you should be able to verify that pretty easily, but who knows?
Yeah, I have no idea. Oh, I was like, what is going on? Nitro's been so quiet. He's been so afraid of the thunder, which stopped like 2 hours ago. I think he's just like exhausted from being stressed. So he's just
I
passed
hear
out.
you. I know how it is, Nitro. That's why I have to nap every day after work because the stress just exhausts me.
So after this, we check in with Marlo, and she brought in an in-home shopping experience for Sheree. She says, "I'm Batman, bitch, but the cape is Fendi, and I'm here to save the day," which made me laugh. Classic
I
Marlo
love
stuff.
Marlo. I'm so glad that you've come around.
I've come around until like the end of this episode, and
Yeah, I know. The
now
end of this
she's
episode was
coming
a
for
little
my
rough.
girl. And
I
Kandi
know.
has implied on Twitter that it only gets worse. So
Yeah.
if she's gonna come for the bull, she better be ready for the horns. Messing with my girl Kandi, but she is fucking funny. I'll give her that. It's just when she
She
like
cracks me up.
spouts the bullshit just to spout bullshit is where like she loses me a bit, and that's
Yeah.
it feels like whether or not there's truth to like what we can get into it. Forget that. So,
Yeah.
while she's setting everything up, she calls Kenya to be like, "Where are you at?" And she's like, "I'm not coming. I don't feel well." And So Marlo's like, okay, and she hangs up. She's like, she's lying. She was in full glam. She's going somewhere else. So
Yeah.
um in this moment, it's not a huge issue. This later, and
Right.
we can talk about it. We
Right.
get Sonia out with her mom buying groceries to prepare for the Jamaican dinner at her house that Sonia's mom is going to lead. But really, let's get back to Marlo's because I don't know if there was anything in that conversation that we really need to like go over.
Yeah.
We go to Marlo's and Drew shows up. She brings groceries to make cupcakes.
Eggs in the pink styrofoam.
And we only do the brown ones, the organic ones here with Marlo. So Marlo likes particular eggs. Drew tells Marlo how she was invited, then uninvited to Sonia's photo shoot. And so because of this, Drew rejects the dinner invitation from Sonia. I would have done
Which
the
I
same
like. I
thing.
kind of think it's funny that
Yeah.
I like that Sonia was like, oh, I have this whole plan. I'm going to pull her aside. And she's like,
Mhm.
actually, I'm not coming to your shit either. How about that?
Yeah.
You want to invite me to this, but not that? Then I'm not coming.
Right. Exactly. I supported Drew in doing this.
Yeah, me too.
So Marlo tells us that she's impressed that Drew came over to make cupcakes when Drew and Sheree really haven't been getting along. They just kind of like patch things up. So Marlo is now like on the up and up with Drew, which means
Yeah.
Drew has rising stock with some key characters in this group with
Kenya.
Kenya, with Marlo. I don't,
Sheree, to an extent.
yeah,
They're
like
getting
she's,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
this definitely like moved her up Sheree's list, whatever that list may be.
Yeah.
So we go to Sheree, and here we get one of my favorite things from this episode, which is
Mm-hmm.
her in depth potato chip analysis. When she is
Yep.
like, I like them thick cut, I like sea salt, this is what I prefer. Like, and she's just like really going in about, we get it in confessional, we get it in like the live setting. Thank you, Sheree. Thank you. I love a
Yeah.
good food
Thank you.
review.
Same. And I love a potato chip. It's my favorite
Mm-hmm.
snack. So I'm here to listen to any housewife talk about potato chips.
Dude, the stupidest mistake I always make is like when I end up buying a bag of Cape Cod potato chips like the week before I'm getting my period, mostly like the
Oh,
2 to
yeah.
3 days before, where it's like I'm either moody as fuck and I don't realize until after like why I'm being such a bitch,
Hmm.
or I will eat anything you put in front of me and I'll still be hungry when all of a sudden I'm like, where did this bag of chips go?
Yeah. Oh, I'll eat a full bag of chips in one sitting.
Yeah. I did
Yeah.
it last week with Cape Cod potato chips. So,
Yeah. I do it all the time.
gotta do what you gotta do. I mean,
Yeah.
potatoes are healthy if anyway. So
Yeah. Totally.
um we get Marlo has a car show up for Sheree in this. She like calls and is like, "Hey, put on something sexy. You're getting out of your house. I'm not telling you where you're going." And Marlo even makes her wear a blindfold just to come to Marlo's
Yeah.
house.
And Sheree is like not complying with this blindfold.
Yeah, she's like holding it out from her
Yeah. I
eyes
guess
because
she
she
doesn't want
doesn't
her
want.
makeup to get messed up.
Yeah, she doesn't want all of it to get messy.
Hmm.
It's just funny to me. Um, so once she gets there, we have a bunch of things set up. So you have the store, which Sheree had to pay for. She thought like Marlo was gonna at least like buy her stuff, but supposedly Sheree spent over 10 grand in Fendi things, and Marlo
I
did.
don't know if Sheree actually bought that stuff
Yeah,
or
me
if it was
neither.
just the stuff that like she was trying on and it
Same.
all added up to 11,000.
Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, she didn't get anything for free from Marlo.
No, she did not.
There was also a massage therapist, a ton of food, and Marlo gives her a little pep talk. She's like, "I don't want you to forever forget who you are. You're that bitch."
This was sweet to me.
Yeah, me too. I wrote like Marlo's such a good friend when she wants to be.
Yeah, she is. And I feel like this is like exactly what Sheree needs to hear and be reminded of because she is that bitch and like she's beautiful and she deserves way, way, way better. Like she's a queen. She's
Mm-hmm.
hilarious. She's amazing. She deserves everything, not this loser.
Right. And Marlo, like, really kind of like lays into her a bit, but in like a I love you way,
Tough
not like in a
love.
mean
Yeah.
way. Yeah. She's like, how do you know that he loves you? Like, if this happened to your daughter, what would you be saying to her? What would you be? And that
Yeah.
was where Sheree was like, oh shit. That was kind of like the
Yeah.
moment that got Sheree thinking. And
Because
she said,
Sheree was like, I know that he loves me. And Marlo's like, how do you know? How
yeah.
do you know?
And rightfully
Which is a
so.
great
Like,
point.
what actions have backed up his
Right.
words, which is important, men.
None. Yeah, exactly.
So Sheree again says she's not ready to walk away, but Marlo's like, Sheree, you need to block him. And because he left you looking sad as fuck in dirty Philadelphia. Took a shot at Philadelphia on the way out.
Yeah, I'm here. No offense, but I'm here for the shots of Philadelphia.
I know that we are on opposite sides for football, but I think we can agree
Mhm.
that we both hate the
Mhm.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
um,
That is what unites us.
yeah, common hatred, common
Mhm.
enemy.
Listen, they eat horseshit off the street. Their fans eat literal horseshit off the street. I mean,
They booed
what are
Santa.
we doing?
Like,
How do you
so
boo Santa? Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
we're actually like
In
kind of
case you didn't
flying.
hear me, they eat horseshit off the street.
I mean, yeah,
I
it's
just
just
want to make sure
mostly in
everybody knows
Philly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we got it. We're
Yeah.
here. We got it.
Let us not forget.
We really kind of like fly through this episode. Like
Yeah.
we have things happen, but there's not a lot of things that like need analysis or like
Yeah.
conversation because it's all just like upfront interactions until we get to dinner a little bit where I feel like we can talk
Yeah.
about some of these things. So um we get Sheree making comments that like when Kenya shows up, she's like, oh, I'm glad she can show up for somebody. Um
Yeah, this is not it from Sheree for me. Like, you called this chick, she was there for you. You cried to her. She was trying to help you through it, trying to figure out how to get you home. She was giving you pep talks. She also planned this with Marlo. It seemed like
mhm.
it was like her idea, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. She got sick. What are you gonna do? We're in a pandemic,
That was
ladies.
I tweeted that
Let us
from
not
our
forget.
account and it got some traction of like
Yeah.
I don't understand how they're if she had showed up and had COVID and gave the two of them
And
COVID, they would be
they would have
mad.
had to shut production down. Like, you
Right.
can't risk it. Just can't risk it. I get
And
that they don't want to break the fourth wall in that way, but like, she has to take a test if she's sick.
right. And so Kenya said that on Twitter. She's like, the truth is I was getting ready and like production stepped in and said I couldn't go until I got a PCR test.
It makes
So
sense.
yeah, during a goddamn pandemic.
It makes
So
sense.
So that's like kind of my gripe with this is like it would have been more selfish for Kenya to show up, especially if she ended up having COVID. Like the amount of people
Yeah.
that she would potentially infect is a lot as opposed to just staying home with like her producer. And so
Right.
whatever. Um I was not this was the beginning of my like, all right, Sheree, I felt bad for you, but now you and Marlo are kind of like you're not doing it for me. I'm not it's
Yeah.
hard to be on your side right now. I felt bad for you for a minute, but if you're going to act like this just cuz you're hurt, then like you need to talk to someone. You need to adjust these
Yeah.
feelings and project at the right person cuz Kenya's not it. Candy's
No.
not it. People didn't
I
intentionally
can,
hurt you.
yeah. I can understand a little bit the Kandi stuff because it does seem like Kandi like didn't reach out to her and is kind of talking a little bit behind her back. And she's like, I thought she was my actual friend because they
Mhm.
had a long-standing friendship from the earlier seasons, more so than anybody else, Sheree and anybody else on this cast. So I can understand why she feels a little slighted by Kandi kind of being standoffish with her, it seems. But like, Kenya has really been riding for her.
Mhm.
And it doesn't make any sense that she would like come at her this way.
The only thing that would make sense to me is like, or not the only thing that makes sense, but in terms of how I can defend Candy, because as you know, I will.
Yep.
Candy didn't hear it from Sheree, and so I don't know if I would have reached out. Like, yeah, obviously Candy's been running her mouth about Tyrone like basically this whole time.
Yeah.
Um and but it's the fact of like, okay, but then am I going to get Kenya in trouble because Kenya said
Hmm.
something to me? So I can understand wanting to like sit back and wait on
Yeah.
information like from the horse's mouth before saying something because then like again Sheree right now is hurt. Like, she's kind of like projecting and
Yeah.
at anyone and everyone. So like, does it put Kenya in a bad spot? I get sitting waiting until like Sheree initiates it to have that conversation. But I also understand, like, okay, hey, I heard this, especially like if it's in the blogs and shit where they had like pictures.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It
Yeah,
seems like there's pictures and pictures are getting texted to
yeah.
everybody, and it just
So
seems like
that's
it's
the other
out
side of
there.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Candy also could have just called her and been like, "Hey, just wanted to check in."
yeah, she could have. I think Candy's more in the wrong than the right. I will say that.
Yeah.
I do get what Candy was saying when like I was gonna wait for you to say something to have this conversation because
Yeah.
there's also the component of like you call to check in with someone and yes, that shows that you care and everything, but like maybe you're catching them at a time when they weren't thinking about it and then you're bringing them back in and
Yeah.
everything. And so
Yeah.
I don't know. There's definitely pros and cons to Candy saying something or not saying something. I don't think it warrants what is said about Candy later, but not that Sheree was saying it. However, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm team Candy in a lot of things, so
Totally. I get it.
but all right, we unfortunately have
Listen,
Mama
I'm Team
Joyce.
Teresa in a lot of things. I get it, okay?
Yeah.
It's a tough crust to bear. You're lucky that Candy's the one you have to defend.
I know. My girl.
Mm,
I can't defend her bringing Mama Joyce because I never want to see her. And I did write
yeah.
Mama Joyce is here with a frown face in my notes.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
just to be honest.
It's fair.
So my next 2 points we already made. So Marlo and Sheree try calling out Kenya for not showing up the night before, and they're like, "Well, you're here now," and this and that. And again, like Kenya couldn't like fully explain that producers wouldn't let her go and all this. So I feel like Kenya is just getting some shit she doesn't need to get, but
Yeah.
she does explain a bit more on Twitter with it. And
Yeah. I also feel like in that moment she was explaining herself
yeah,
appropriately.
yeah, and it just seemed like Marlo and Sheree wanted to be mad, so they had something to be mad about.
Yeah. When Sheree was like, "Show me the test," she's like, "You're really gonna
Yeah,
come at me that way?"
right. Anyway, so Sheree does say that she blocked Tyrone for now.
Mm-hmm.
So good
Mm-hmm.
job, Sheree. And then they go outside, just Marlo and Sheree, because like Marlo's getting worked up and Sheree follows her. And this is the type of thing where like I don't like Sheree being like the beta to Marlo's alpha in this.
Yeah, neither do I. And I
It's
don't think Sheree should
not
be the beta to anybody.
right. It's not a good dynamic. Like nothing positive is coming out of this. Like if anything, I wish Kenya was there the night before so that we don't get this bullshit because
Yeah.
now like Marlo's going off about Kandi. She's saying that like she doesn't help other people and that Kandi was a hoe who like would sleep with anyone, especially people who didn't have as much money as her, so that they like felt obligated to stick around because she has money and they can like mooch off of her or whatever. Like she did not hold
Yeah.
back. And then they start talking about how Kenya's gone out with every rapper in America. Um, and that Marlo seemed to me more mad that Kandi didn't reach out than like Sheree. Like it looked like Marlo was just kind of like waiting for an instance to like pick a bone with Kandi.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It is kind of weird. I do want to take I know you're not a Mama Joyce fan, but I did think it was funny that Mama Joyce cut in and was like, "Hey," and she like shut the arguments down. And then like
Mhm.
they all just kind of like moved on from it, which I thought was funny. It's like when someone's mom yells at you even when you're in your 50s, you kind of
Yeah.
listen, which I thought was funny. But yeah, I didn't love this. It seems like it came out of left field. I don't know where this like drama of being like anti-Kenya and Kandi came from, especially Kenya, because Kenya literally didn't do anything wrong. Like
Yeah.
it was out of her control, and they should know that as cast members of the show. They should know what the protocol is. Obviously, they're not going to break the fourth wall, but like I don't like that Sheree got into this a lot with Kim Zolciak too, and was like on the wrong side of a lot of things when it was like
Mhm.
Kim versus Nene, and it's just like, can we just not do this? Shouldn't we be past acting like this? And I love
Right.
Sheree. Like we know I love Sheree, but I didn't love it. It just felt like unnecessarily mean for no reason. And I think there was a point where Kenya was like, this is the real Marlo. This is like the old Marlo that
Yeah.
like goes and yeah. And it's like, yeah, it is. Like we see this new version of Marlo that we like and is funny and we see her caring for her nephews, and she seems like so warm and caring. And now it's like, oh, now we see like kind of the old Marlo's peeking through.
Yeah, and what's hard is like, at least with Sheree, you can say like, girl's hurt and is just aiming
Yeah.
at the wrong place, you know, like her anger is misguided right now. But like, what's Marlo's excuse?
Right. No excuse. There's
Right.
literally no excuse.
And it just sucks because like you've said, this group is at its best when they're getting along. And now it seems like we're gonna get a division that
Yeah.
obviously like we've seen Marlo and Kenya go at it before. I don't need to see it again. I'd rather see them on the same team. And so
Me
I'm
too.
hoping it gets
I
patched up
was enjoying their
quicker.
friendship.
Yeah. I just don't I think that they might patch things up a little bit. I think we're gonna get Kandi and Marlo based off of a Kandi tweet that was like, just wait, this only gets worse throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Honestly though, and I like Kandi a lot.
mhm,
I'm ready to see Kandi get in the mix a little bit.
mhm.
We don't always see Kandi in the center of the drama, so like I'm ready for it.
When Kandi goes off though, she like
I
loses
know. I
it.
want to see it. I want to see it. Give me
Mhm.
that shaky voice, Kandi. I want to see it.
I know exactly what like I'm
I
hearing
want to
it in my
see
head.
it. Yeah.
I can't
I want to hear it.
impersonate it, but I'm
No,
hearing
me
it in my
neither.
head distinctly.
Yeah.
So the last thing that happens is both of them are saying like, "Oh, we wish Drew was here," and then who shows up but Drew?
We get like the slow walk-in entrance of the
Mhm,
like just her feet. Yeah. This is see, I like this from Drew. Like this is funny to me
mhm,
that she comes late. Like this is the kind of housewife pettiness that I like. I don't
mhm.
want Marlo outside being like, "Oh, this girl's a hoe and this girl fucked every rapper." Like,
Marlo,
great.
like
We're like old as
you
fuck
have
now,
your
okay?
shit too. Yeah.
Not them, like all of us are too old for this.
Yeah.
This is who cares?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's the end of the episode. And again, I can't remember what the preview is. Um,
I can't
but
remember what the preview is either, actually.
perfect. I know that we normally do internet stuff, so I don't know if you wanna do this because I'm gonna be blunt, I don't know if I can make it another 5 minutes without going to the bathroom. So I don't know if you wanna talk about what, we saw on the internet right before we started the podcast, but I can be back here in less than 2 minutes if you can monologue that long
Sure.
about it. Alright, let me
I'm
mute
happy
this
to.
so thank you, 'cause I'm not gonna make it. It's
No,
RIP me.
please. You've had a long day of podcasting. Please.
Thank you. I do appreciate you,
You're welcome.
recognizing that.
Of course.
Alright.
You're my podcast partner. How could I not?
BRB.
Okay. So, what Carrie is referencing, and this is not related to any of the housewives that we talked about tonight. And unfortunately, we have to bring someone back into the ether that we thought we forgot about. We thought she was off the show. We thought we would never have to talk about her again. But Gina Kirschstreiter from Real Housewives of OC, don't ask me how to actually say her name because I have no idea, is being accused, and this is a trigger warning, is for domestic violence. I'll put that out there quickly. Accused of pushing her boyfriend down the stairs in front of her kids, which is not great, obviously. Not great is an understatement. So it sounds like it came out because there is an emergency custody hearing between her boyfriend, whose name I think is Travis, his fiance or his ex fiance or ex-wife is keeping the kids from him, and he's filing an emergency paternity or not paternity custody hearing, and the wife essentially is like, the kids don't want to come back because they witnessed Gina pushing him down the stairs. So not good, really not good, especially as someone who was like a victim of domestic violence, now being the perpetrator of domestic violence. It's not great. Let's just hope that Gina and her family get it together. That's
Preach.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
We saw that like right before we came on and we're like, oh,
Yeah.
well,
I was like, guess we're gonna talk about this.
yeah. Um, I had seen a rumor that like she wasn't coming back this season anyway. So like fingers
I heard that as
crossed
well. I
that
very much fingers crossed.
like I don't want this as a storyline. I don't need it.
I don't want this as a storyline either. Yeah, just not great. It's not great. Not great for anyone involved. I hope everybody involved is okay, and that
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I saw this week is like that we're still getting more continuity in this uh um the Lisa Rinna internet case of like
Yeah.
this guy who can't use proper English and has no skills in grammar being like, this will definitely come up at the reunion and will be a storyline for next season. And I like can't wait for
Yeah.
this to all be exposed. Like all of this seems like really, I mean, obviously it's shady, but it just like, I don't know. I don't want to even entertain it, but at the same time, if it's gonna be entertained, then I want all of it exposed. So
This is like, I feel like I'm the confused lady meme, or I'm like Charlie Day with like the murder board in the background trying to make sense of all of this because nothing makes sense to me with this
mhm.
whole story. It's just so asinine. Like, how did this guy even have Lisa Rinna's phone number to begin with? Because this all started because he threatened her or sent her messages threatening her or something like that. And she posted his phone number. So, how did he get her phone number to begin with? It's all just so bizarre. And yeah, I guess there's like, he's like, more receipts. All of the receipts have been turned over to a third party and this will definitely come up. I'm like, sir, I don't know that it will. I don't know that it will. Nor do we need it to.
Yeah, it just seems very manufactured.
Right. I
Hopefully it
don't,
doesn't.
I feel like my belief is that Lisa Rinna is behind it all.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So that's it. It's weird.
I don't know if I saw anything else in terms of the internet that I need to talk about. I've spent a lot of time
I
on
don't think so.
the real world subreddit and not.
Hmm. Yeah, we have plenty to talk about there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think so. Same as you. I've been a little bit disconnected from the Housewives or from Bravo in general. I feel like it's kind of like, no, it's not at a lull right now, but it feels like it's kind of like we're hitting a valley before we get to a peak when some additional stuff comes out, which I'm fine with.
Mhm.
I need a little bit of a break from the
Yeah.
Housewives.
It probably also
I
helps that, like, we're not covering Dubai, and that's
Yeah.
getting a lot of, like, focus at the moment.
Well, I was going to ask you, did you watch the second episode of Dubai?
No, I could have yesterday, and I chose to watch a movie for the first time in maybe over a year.
Oh.
I watched Adam Sandler's new one on Netflix, Hustler, which, it was nice, like, you can kinda predict what was gonna happen as it was going along, but, there's a lot of NBA players in it, and it was
Oh.
entertaining enough, so the reason why was I had actually started it while I was in Boston because
Mm.
Peacock is weird for me on my laptop, so I don't like trying to use it because then it messes up what I'm doing on my TV, and that's where I watched the
Oh.
majority of, like, Miami, so I'm like,
Yeah.
"Great, well, I tried to sign into Hulu, and Hulu is being stupid, so I'm like, let me open up Netflix, I just need something to put on," and so I started it, and I'm like, "Alright, let me finish it," so, yeah, but, I might watch the next episode, Dubai, did you?
I did. I watched it over the weekend when I was just kind of like chilling for a little bit.
Mhm,
And I like and I apologize, I'm gonna get her name wrong because people call her Chanel and people call her Ion. So
mhm,
I like her a lot. She's a
mhm,
really good housewife. I feel like she has the potential to be like an all-time housewife.
mhm,
So she's kind of drawing me in,
mhm,
not to the point where I feel like I need to cover the show at all, but it's nice to have a housewife where I could just like throw it on. If I miss it, I miss it. If I catch it, I catch it. It's like nice to have it still keeping up with it, and that's
mm,
like in the ether, but it's not something I feel like I need to like really keep on top of and pay attention to. I can more casually watch. Um, and it's okay. The episodes feel very long, even though they're not that long. It's
mhm.
all right. I mean, it's not the best, but I do really like her a lot. I think she has the potential to be an all-timer.
Yeah, she seems to be controversial, in what I'm seeing in glimpses of her. So, yeah, I'll probably
Yeah.
watch it and see how it goes from there. It's nice to I was saying this, I podcasted with 2 of our new podcasters on the challenge recap TJ Hates Quitters with, it was with Javier and Diego, and I was saying, like, a lot of the TV I watch at this point is because I podcast about it, so
Yeah,
I have
same.
to like take notes and pay attention. And so it's nice when it's just like this is on and I can just like engage, but I don't have to be
Yeah.
studying it, if you
I
will.
can look at my phone.
Yeah.
I can just walk around and make a snack while I'm watching. Like, it doesn't have to
Right.
be something I'm like hawkishly paying attention to, which is
Right.
nice. I feel that way about Challenge All Stars too. I know you're obviously covering it, but it's like
Yeah.
nice to be able to like throw it on while I make dinner.
That's what I was actually explaining. I was like, I was sick a few weeks ago and I was like, okay, well, I should watch this. And it was nice to just like lay there and binge a show and not have to like write things down about it. And like it was just refreshing in a way. So um I wouldn't mind doing that with Dubai as well, I guess.
Yeah, I'll keep up with it because obviously it's probably going to get a second season and we'll see where it goes from here, but it's a little glossy for me. It's a little like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like super authentic. It feels like almost like off-brand Bravo a little bit,
Mhm.
but I'm enjoying it enough to continue every week. But I
Mhm.
agree. I'm still on the same page as I don't think we should really be giving much attention to it.
Have Did I explain to you my idea for Bravo and Peacock with like when we thought that they were going to
Yes.
expand like the relegation and promotion stuff? I've explained
Yeah.
this to a few other people and everyone so far has agreed with me. So like I will accept
You should
Dubai
pitch this.
if we expand like to 3 more and then we have 10-ish like franchises total and we are promoting and relegating people.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in on that. I
That's
also
the only reason I'm Dubai.
recently, yeah, it makes sense. I heard that there's a cast floating around for season 3 of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip and it's like really bad. So I'm worried that we're jumping the shark already with that show, which is unfortunate. Because I'm really looking forward to season 2 because this is what we could talk about. Dorinda and Vicky Gumbelson going at it this week
Yeah.
on the internet. Hardcore going at it. So
It's
we don't
just
need to
like
get into the
not
details, but
surprising. It's
not at
like
all. Like the two most volatile women that could possibly be in a house together. Of course, they're not going to get along. They're on the opposite ends of the political spectrum, as we know.
mhm.
Neither one is afraid of showing their opinions, or neither one will hide their opinions. And it's just getting messy out there.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
excited. It comes
me
out on the
too.
23rd, I think, which
June
is
23rd.
10
That's
days from now.
Yes, that's a Thursday.
Yeah. Day after your vaginal birthday.
On that note, we we brought it full circle. I think
We
this is where
have.
we end for the evening.
We have.
Um, okay, Katie. Hold on, I've made so many banners lately that like I usually put ours at the bottom so they're easier for me to find since we podcast together more than anybody else.
Hmm.
Okay, there we go. Katie, what are you doing on the internet these days?
Well, if you would like to vote on whether or not my hair looks like a sensible summer look or a founding father's haircut, you can do that on Twitter at RealSlimKatie or on Instagram at RealSlimKatie. Both of those places I have posted about it and have requested opinions. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSlimKatie with an underscore at the end. Been playing a new game called The Quarry that just came out last week. It's like a scary game, and it's a lot of fun. Matt, my boyfriend, is also playing with me, also known as Glances. So we've been having a really good time. We'll probably play that a little bit more tomorrow. We might end up finishing it, but we'll see. And you can also find me on, well, okay, we actually just finished our coverage of Stop Being Polite. I almost said you could find me on Stop Being Polite, which you still can. I'm still there in recording form, but we are done with our coverage, unfortunately. But fortunately, we had a really amazing chat with Melissa. I don't even want to call it an interview. It was more, that's why I named the podcast A Conversation with Melissa Beck, because it really was just a really amazing conversation with her last week. We posted that on Saturday. So definitely check that out if you haven't. She was incredibly gracious with her time. And we just really appreciate her. And we very much hope to have her back. And I think we might be able to get her to come back and talk to us about some other things. So I'm really, really, really looking for, I mean, surreal for me, obviously, as you guys know. So that is incredible. And then feel free if you guys are catching up on Homecoming and you haven't watched it yet, our recaps are there as a perfect
Mhm.
partner for your watch through. If you're more of a binger and you want to binge the whole series, highly recommended. You can also find me talking about Star Wars, new Disney Plus series, Obi-Wan Kenobi on I think I said Disney Plus, but I'll say it again on Disney Plus. Limited series, there's 2 more episodes left. So there's 1 episode this week and another episode next week. So I'm covering that with Naomi and Isaiah here on Silent Podcasts. And Big Brother's coming soon. So you'll hear me on more Big Brother stuff. We have less than a month to go, which is crazy. It feels like we just ended, but we have less than a month until Big Brother comes back. So you'll find me there as well. That's it. That's all I got.
Every post that I put up about this podcast, I was just like, guys, you can't believe this, because my friend who I podcast with like has loved this woman for 22 years, and for her to reach out to us has just
I'm embarrassed.
You should be. I think it's so cool, and like if anything, it's just a testament to you in terms of like just like what you bring. You know what I mean? Like this woman who like obviously heard us say like that we like basically worship the ground she walks on, essentially, and is like still like
and is not creeped out by us.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you know, like it, I don't know, just the fact that like that's been like your kind of like reality TV, I don't want to say like idol or anything, because especially now
she is
having like talked to her and like continuing to talk to her, it feels weird. Like, yes, we have her on a pedestal, but also like she's just super fucking real and cool, and that like everything she presents herself as on television, she is in person, or like I can't say in person, but at least in podcast form person as well. And no, like just like all of it. I like, for me, it just makes me so happy that all this happened for you, you know, that like I've like, I obviously have grown to love and appreciate her as well in like the last couple of months in my like coverage of all this and everything. But it's just like, I've just been so happy that this happened for you, because that's just like the coolest fucking shit to have. Like,
you're so sweet.
Someone like her just be like, I love what you're doing. Like, can I come talk to you guys? And it's like, yes, duh. So,
well, I have to give all the credit to you, because you took a leap of faith and jumped in talking to the show. I had such a feeling about this show when I first heard it. I was like, someone has to cover this. I feel like there's not going to be a lot of people covering it. Like, we have to get in on this, and it's amazing. And you were just like, yeah, let's do it. And like, you didn't even ask a question about it. You were just like, yep, I'm in. So
tell me when to watch it.
It's all because of you.
No. But we could talk about that interview for like a whole interview length conversation, I guess. But yeah, absolutely listen to it. We've had such good feedback on it. And like Melissa talks for the majority of the time. Like Katie was great at asking questions. I usually like chimed in with like something funny / stupid every few minutes. And but it was like just a great overall experience. She gave us like 2 hours of her time. It's just listen. Like, if you like either of us or like Melissa Beck or all of the above, like,
and we talked Housewives.
Yeah, we talked Housewives on there. We talked a bunch of things. So definitely listen to it.
I would say if you're a fan of reality TV in general, you don't even need to watch the show to really listen to a lot of what she has to say, because it's just insightful in general about reality TV and the process of being on reality TV and then coming off of reality TV and then going back on it. It's not necessarily related to the real world 100%. Obviously it is, because that's a show she was on, but it's just very interesting conversation for anybody that's a fan of reality TV, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I'm not talking to Melissa and Katie on a podcast, I am doing other things, such as being on social media at KGD26. So, you know, Twitter, Instagram, Venmo, TikTok, the works. I'm there. I like put up my first Instagram post that wasn't my dog in like 2 years this weekend. A lot of Nitro content there. I mixed it up and put my face. And then like Silent Podcast, I'm doing still a ton of shit. And for example, we are here every week for you with your Housewives coverage. We just finished Stop Being Polite, so listen to that. We've just talked about it for like 5 minutes, but you deserve to hear it again. And then I cover The Challenge on TJ Hates Quitters. We just recorded our episode for this past week, like right before this. I'll be going up soon, and then you'll be getting this week's on Wednesday. Now that Katie and I don't have to record on Wednesdays, that opens up that slot, so you'll be getting that coverage very soon after it premieres. And then we're also going to be doing off-season challenge coverage because coming up the Challenge USA, we've got 4 different shows represented, and I only know a little bit about one of the shows represented, which is Survivor. So I'm bringing in some of the crew to get some insight on that, and then we'll be covering the Challenge USA weekly. And the circle ended, but still, I do think that the interview that we did with Alex and Nikki was really cool. It might even better to watch in YouTube form versus podcast form because, like, I think you can kind of like tell that there's just kind of like a comfortable dynamic between the 4 of us talking. I think it comes across better on the video than it does in the podcast. But regardless, definitely check that out because there's definitely some like insight there, reality TV wise, the circle wise. If you hated Nathan on the show, give it a listen. I think you'll like change your mind a little bit. I know a lot of my friends did. And I got a little bit of a project coming out sooner rather than later. I am very much in the works of like finalizing shit. So we'll get into that when we do, probably in the next like week or so. But yeah, I'm just talking a lot on the internet. Valencia, thank you for mentioning our 3rd co-host because this is now 3 straight podcasts that Nitro has not barked during. You can thank the tornado that rolled through here and him going to dog daycare today. That I think he was tired from daycare and stressed the fuck out that he's just passed out right now. But Nitro is here. He's laying in the hallway. So I'll let him know you said hello, Valencia. Follow us on all the things. So those things include get rid of my banner. I always do that. Okay. Twitch and YouTube, search Silent Podcast. We are there. And then silent_podcast on Twitter. If you listen to us in podcast form and you haven't given us a 5-star review yet, why? Why haven't you not given us a 5-star review? If it's 4 or less, as I said on the last podcast that I did just a mere couple hours ago, just wait until you find a podcast that you think is worth 5 stars and then rate us after that one.
You don't
like,
have to rush.
If this was a 4-star for you, just hold on. Like, we are working on improving. So
Yeah. That Melissa episode, 5 stars.
Yeah, Melissa, definitely 5 stars. Absolutely. If you give it anything lower than that, that's a you problem, not an us problem. But definitely like, follow, subscribe, review, rate. I don't know, all the things you're supposed to do with like content online so that we know how much you love us. But until next week, when we continue our journey down the Beverly Hills and Atlanta Real Housewives lanes, enjoy whatever you're doing, whenever you're listening to this, night, day, evening, lunch, morning, I don't know, whatever. Just enjoy what you're doing. And thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.